guy, the People's Machine, coming at you with another exciting episode of the Gaming Roundtable here on January 25th, the new year of 2022. And we're rolling into February pretty right quick. Don't know where the month has gone. Tonight's episode is again another episode of we did a year in review with Posthuman Guy, my good friend John. And he's joining again here at the Gaming Roundtable. We're going to start doing a monthly thing where we get together and we just do some table talk, is what I'm going to call it. So this is the table talk segment of Gaming Roundtable. And how you doing, buddy? Glad that you're back on.
Good,
yeah, back with us here at the Roundtable. So what's new,
Always
man? What's new? I know we just talked a couple, week ago, whatever, a few days, but I know we were just talking before we came on the air about some stuff, and as you can see, Evolve is playing in the background, an unsung game that I don't think anybody really bought, me and 10 other people, but it was a fun game while it lasted. But that actually led me and our John here to talk about the online offline thing, and I think it's a good subject. And we were talking about how many of the games nowadays, even when you have a single player portion of the game that nobody can play with, it's just you in the computer, but they still require you to always be online, connected to somebody's server. How do you feel about that? Because we'll get into that. So, what's your take on that?
I definitely don't like it.
Yeah.
I definitely don't like it, and I understand some of the reasons behind it. I like games that have integrated multiplayer in them, but I like that to be optional. I don't like it being forced on me. And I feel that some of the the one example we did was Outriders.
Mm-hmm.
And that sucked for me because, and it really wasn't that big of a deal at the time, but I had got it I don't know what it was for, Christmas or birthday, or what, I don't remember the timing of it. But anyway, I got it installed, I told you about it, and I went to load it. It was like the first night or whatever, and I wanted to just play the single player thing, but the server was down. So it wouldn't let me log in, and I had to wait, and it was only down a couple hours or something like that, thankfully. But, conveniently then, and, it results in some of those games if it goes unpatched, like you were talking about. Was it Bloodborne or whatever, where it becomes unavailable if those servers are not there.
Yeah, Battleborn. It was Battleborn that they shut the servers down, even though that game had single player and you could play co-op through the single player story. It has a single player story. It was made by the people who made Borderlands, so it had that art style. But once they decided, hey, this game, we don't have enough player base to support it, because Overwatch kind of took the reins. Battleborn was a very early hero shooter. It was like, really? It's like, because you could even play against bots instead of in the multiplayer if you wanted to. But the single player stuff would have been fine if they just let you play offline, but they never did. And once the servers were gone, I was looking at Battleborn, and I hate to say I did this, but I took the game, I took the thing, and threw it in the garbage. Because it's dead. You can never play it again. It's a coaster, and it's a shame, because I was still actually playing and leveling up my heroes up until then. But you're right.
Yeah, and I don't see the point in it really. I get if it's got multiplayer elements, you have to regulate the experience to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it should be only if you're online. Now, the other motivation would be from the greed standpoint of microtransactions and regulating that, right? You can't have if you lock it to a server like that, I don't know, it seems like the exploits they'd be more vigilant about that stuff to try to, you follow me here?
Yeah, I do follow you on that. I hear what you're saying, because I think, like I was saying, before we went on air, folks, I was telling him how I thought it was really weird how, Far Cry 4, for example, you load in, it says logging into Ubisoft servers or whatever, and then when you get to the main menu where you can select load game, new game, whatever, continue, you actually can select play in offline mode. But in order to play that game offline, remember this is single player, it's like you have to go log in first, and then when you're done logging into their servers, you hit play offline, it takes you off the servers. I'm like, why did I have to log in first? You know, I think the option of should be something like a button online or offline, or would you like to stay online or would you like to go offline? I think that would be, and it wouldn't be hard to implement that at all.
Yeah. And there's certainly games that do it, and there's some that do it well. And
Yeah.
the example I used was one of the more seamless ones would be the Forza games on how it's open world anyway, and you're driving around and you can just encounter other racers and do spur of the moment events together, races or whatever. And then like if you lose internet connection or whatever, like it just pops up a thing on the top and says offline. And you can rejoin at any time, but like it doesn't even kick you out to a menu. You're not like, going through this big whole offline new version of the thing. It all just happens.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then like when you're back online, you're back online. And
see, and that's done in the background, which is really nice.
Yeah, it's really no big deal. And I'm okay even if you have to go into a loading screen or something, but
Yeah.
I don't like being forced into things or some of the Call of Duties I know can be done. I forget which one it was, but you could just simply go offline.
Yes.
Even in the multiplayer and do that stuff. And,
well, yeah, because
I think being forced.
Yeah.
Into that, and we're in a time where like internet connection is really not a big deal. Most people always have it, but you never know when you're going to be in a case. I guess when internet's not available. More importantly, when a server goes down and you just can't communicate to it, then that game, if you have that thing like you say, Battleborn, then that game's toast.
Yeah,
there's no need
it
for that.
Yeah, no, because that's just especially with the single player stuff, like Monster Hunter World.
I get if it's online only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like Monster Hunter World, for example, is offline online, and if you something happens, it disconnects, it just gives you a little notification, but you are now in offline mode. And if you can't connect at all, it just, when you first load the game up and it's looking for a server, it'll just say can't find it, something whatever, and it'll say you're now in offline mode. And all that does is just prevent somebody from joining your game and helping you if you want. But the game is primarily a solo thing anyway. So, yeah, I think too, there's and I don't know if you would agree or disagree, but I'll go ahead and throw this out there. We have, because they want you to connect all the time, and you got to be on the server, and regardless of whatever you're doing in said game, it just makes you wonder. Some of the companies are like, well, since it's always online anyway, you're starting to see, it's not a lot, but some games here and there, they're just like, yeah, we don't really need a campaign. Nobody's really playing it for that. Besides, you're always online anyway, so why do we want to bother with an offline thing? Because, like, COD did it, the new Battlefield does that, and other game companies are looking at that because that's a way for them to save money, right, without having to do a campaign and voice acting and all this crap, or how do we blah, 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 blah. So I feel like it's interesting that that could be a conversation that comes up, like, do we really want to do this? This is how much money it costs, but what if we cut it? What if we, because...
Yeah. And I can't really fault people for that, though. I'm kind of okay with it, for the most part. As long as it's just clear from the beginning, or clear early enough on to where you know what you're getting into, right? Because there's been obvious cases throughout the years to where a game's trying to cram all this shit in there, and it's like, okay, you're trying to do too much. Like, one mode's suffering because of the other one. And, the way some of these games are, like, Call of Duty and stuff even, you got your zombie mode, and you got your multiplayer mode, and then you got your campaign, and then you got, whatever the fuck. And I'm okay, especially, we talked about COVID impacting development and stuff, and I feel like maybe that's a reason why the new Battlefield doesn't have a campaign, was because they were really trying to get this experience hammered out. And obviously, that wasn't enough because
Yeah.
nobody likes it anyway.
Yeah, it's
But,
kind of a...
you know, the new
kind of-
Call of Duty has a campaign though, and
Yes.
it sucks because sometimes I like that multiplayer experience, even though I'm really burnt out on it right now.
Yeah.
But I always like having those single player campaigns, me personally. And I know
No, yeah.
I'm kind of a minority, like a lot of people don't even play them, and so I get splitting it up. But what about like if they just did, you know, here's this Battlefield and it's multiplayer only, and then like they just do like a campaign one, like you know, a year later or something. Like wouldn't that
like
be kind of
like
cool?
like a $20,
Or do you think people
$25
would shit on it though because that one doesn't have multiplayer? You
See,
know?
that's the thing. I don't know. I don't know if they would shit on it or if they just, hey, for $20, you couldn't sell if you sold it as DLC and be like, hey, this is the campaign for Battlefield. Let's give us time. We're just going to sell it to you for $20 or whatever. But you see, the argument would be if they did that, you already had it, so you took it out and you're trying to resell it to us. So they'd have to legitimately do it separate. Like, hey,
I'd be okay though if they did the game multiplayer, or like, you know, look at Halo, right? Like they did the multiplayer free to play,
yes,
and then really the campaign you got to buy the game for.
Yeah.
And like that's fair, I think. I mean,
I think so.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I think fine with that.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. The whole thing with always being online connection, even if it kind of helps them monitor or see like what people's doing from a hacking standpoint, or if it just, hey, this gives us all this feedback if we need to improve our game or whatever. But I still feel like it's like, well, y'all can do that anyway. You know, even offline, it's like you can check out those servers, you can check out your game code, you can run tests. But yeah, I really wish it was more of an optional thing. I don't think it'll change because it's just one of those things that's it's become the norm, you know.
Do you think because you know obviously multiplayer is kind of the big focus?
Yeah.
I kind of feel, you know, being an old school gamer, of course I grew up with arcade games that had zero story ever, but then you know the rise of kind of the cinematic gaming world to where like I appreciate a good story. Do you think it's like generational at all now to where now it's more competitive and not, you know, and maybe because came up through that time where a lot of that story started being implemented, we're more partial to the single player experience. You know, I don't know. Maybe people like them just the same now, but
I mean, you gotta think. I think it has a lot. I mean, I only got a few years on you, but not much. I got a few, you know, 10 here or whatever. I don't, you know. But the thing is that I think so because you also saw, you know, from this Super NES, the actual genesis, so to speak, of the gaming world, how games change, and I think when a number of years ago they were like, okay, now that we can do these cinematic stories with these voice actors, we can do this, let's do it because we're really proud of the story, we're really proud of what we're doing. And I think multiplayer, in all honesty, was kind of I'd say like a afterthought. Not that they weren't
used to be, right?
Yeah, it was kind of like
it became past like the arcade era. We started getting into these cinematic games, and then like multiplayer was like the side thing.
Yeah, it was always just added, but it was never a big deal. It wasn't until, you know, and GoldenEye came out, but that was split screen. But when the online became more prolific, and I'd had to probably give Halo both credit for that because that was new at Xbox Live, but it was kind of like it was still in its infancy. Yeah, and I feel like that.
Well, you know,
I think
the first
really
Halo, I had to cheat it. Remember, I had to do that Halo Connect software on the PC.
Yeah, I remember.
Trick my Xbox into thinking I was connected to a LAN party.
Yeah. I remember.
Halo Online. That's what I used to always say. But you know, it was through a generic Xbox Connect, no Xbox Live at that time at all.
And you think too, especially when, you know, COD kind of came into its own Battlefield. People always think about Battlefield, and they'll say, well, you know, Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, you know, blah, blah, blah. A lot of people started with the later games. I'm like, heck, it was on the PC, Battlefield 1942. You know, it was people were doing the the dial-up stuff then and the cable stuff then and whatnot, and playing Battlefield, 10 years before I ever got into it or whatever. So it's kind of like, I think COD and Battlefield really, really helped push more multiplayer in the mainstream. And then what happened was the CEOs, executives, and whoever in charge was like, you know what, there's money to be had here. People seem to be real, like, competitive on this. So I think it was a marketing thing where they're like, you know what, the campaign, while we still got to do, but people are really into this multiplayer, and it just sort of blew up huge. And then of course that led to like esports, which is a whole nother can of worms, and then it led to a lot of games, and you'll probably contest to this on let's go back to the 360, where like it seemed like every fucking game had multiplayer. Like they all did. It was like, it's a third-person shooter. It has multiplayer.
The introduction of Xbox Live really was on 360.
Yeah.
I don't think the original Xbox had even supported that, right?
Not to my knowledge. If it did, it must have done it in the last couple of years of its life, right?
And then early on, PlayStation Network was always behind a little bit.
Yeah.
So like it wasn't until like PS3 where it really kind of got more usable too. But man, do you remember Ultima Online?
Yeah, that was that
back in the day.
Ultima Online,
like it would like Command and Conquer and StarCraft and stuff.
All the old stuff,
really early on multiplayer. No, it was PC though.
Yeah, it was PC. Yeah. Because like StarCraft, the only console version I know of is the N64, which I had, which blew me away. They were even able to run that on a cartridge, and it was good. So, but no, I think though, multiplayer, is still obviously in a lot of games that come out, and co-op, some kind of form of it, and it's mostly PvP though. Let's just face facts, and but I think separating the two, would be a really nice thing to see. But I think the biggest thing that has come out of multiplayer, obviously, is the microtransaction stuff has really prolific in the multiplayer, where it's like it's overtly egregious, and it's just the stuff that they're doing. It's just kind of like it's just insane, and it's like.
And see, that's why I think the free-to-play model makes sense for the multiplayer part.
Yeah,
because
I do too.
You'll make up your money on the microtransactions, and then you just sell the campaign separate.
Yeah,
I think that's the way to go. Now, what burns my ass though is I guess there's talk now about that Battlefield going free-to-play. But what about people that already bought it?
Well, they're shit out of luck.
That sucks.
Right? Because especially if you own a console, getting a refund will be difficult.
Shitty game, and then you're gonna make the multiplayer free to play all of a sudden.
Which the whole game is multiplayer, so you basically just got Battlefield for free, right?
Yeah.
So
then all the people that bought it are
are kind of screwed over. And you know what though? It's one of those things where it's kind of like every time I look, I'm like, oh, that's a cool game, and how much is like, okay, it's $30 or $40. I'm gonna buy that, right? And then I buy it, and then a week later, it's the next month, and it's on the PlayStation Plus for free. I'm like, damn it! But so I got burned once or twice on that. I said, I'm going to look that up ahead of time, just to be certain, right? Because the talk of this month coming up is Watch Dogs Legion will be free, which I own, and all the DLC, and it's a fantastic game, a fantastic open world game, and. I hate to say, out of the games that are on the open world, that and not to compare GTA and stuff, but it is in that genre. It's like Legion really is something else.
It's great. That's a great game.
I love Legion. I think Legion's amazing.
I'm not a big fan of the driving in it though. Like it's okay, but it doesn't feel as good as other open world. Driving,
well, it's better than like Watch Dogs 1's driving. Like the cars were a little spotty, the motorcycles were really on point, and 2, it was better, and 3 probably has the most out of the 3, the best driving in that. It's definitely not because GTA has been refined. You know, like GTA 4 had like the real floaty cars because the Euphoria engine was
Yeah.
new, but they shored that up. It's like between, driving games like you know you were playing Sleeping Dogs. It's got a very nice driving, and you can
Yeah,
slam into
that one's
vehicles
good.
with
The
the left
Mafia
stick and
game's
stuff.
still
Yeah, the
good.
Mafia is good. I guess it's just Watch Dogs in a way. Like even though you have to drive here and there, but so much of it, it's like you spend. I feel like a lot more time on foot, you know. And in
Yeah.
Legion, I just grab a drone and fly it. So that's what it is. You know, I'll grab one of the big drones you could actually ride on and just float across to where I need to go instead of driving. Just to, but I mean, and there's a lot of fast travel
And it's not
points
a
in
deal
that game
breaker at
too.
all.
Yeah, it's
It's
not.
fine. I
Not
just don't
no.
like it that much.
Yeah, I mean,
But there's so many other good things though to focus on, and it's so
Yeah.
cool that mechanic of being able to take over anything,
yeah, be whoever
like
you want to set your
kinda
team up. Yeah.
yeah, or just like pick somebody and then just kind of check out their story for a little
Well,
bit.
yeah,
Like,
and I
you
was
know,
and I
who
was
is this
really
person?
yeah
What do they
yeah,
do?
and I was really happy with the fact in that game that a couple updates ago they made it to where you go to your base and you could change the hair color, the style, all the stuff on every single character. So
Yeah,
if you got characters, it's great. And I mean, I got the DLC, so I've got you know the Watch Dogs 2 character. I've got Aiden Pierce, which I play as a lot because I still really like the first Watch Dogs. I like it, and I like the second
yeah,
one a
me too.
whole lot. I think Watch Dogs is an underrated series. Um, and 3, I got the Assassin's Creed stuff, and one of my characters is the assassin, and the way that you did that mission was great because it ties into like it's just awesome. And then they did the zombie thing, and it's like, man, Legion really was on point. And it's the one time I'll give Ubisoft some credit because they took that concept and just really refined it. When they announced Legion, I was like, I can't even believe they're even. When they announced the second one, I couldn't believe they're doing it. I was like, the first one didn't even sell that well, and I was like, they're doing another one, and 2 was so good, and then it was like they're doing another one. You know, it was like I just couldn't
Yeah,
believe that
yeah.
they have stuck with the series. But out of all the games last year that came out that I had purchased, outside of maybe Remnant from the Ashes, which is so good. Watch Dogs Legion, like for open world, yeah, like it was my go-to, like, and it still kind of is. Like as much as I still play GTA 5 online, and have fun with it, but I hate to say it, but you know I actually have a lot more fun with Legion because all the stuff you can do in the game, like as far as what your character can do, options, switching between characters. You can play an assassin, you can play this, and you get the different people, and you can watch them go from a bar to their home to the. It's like such a unique. Everything feels very dynamic in that world, and I just love that game. I just absolutely love it, and that's not knocking Rockstar. GTA 5 is still a fun. I've had a lot of fun playing that. I've been playing it since before the older newer systems came out. So on the 360. So I'm just saying,
Yeah, I like GTA still, but I don't know. I feel like online like it's still fun, but like it's the area, the maps just kind of played out. Like they have some of the add-on story kind of travel to certain other areas, but you're
yeah.
stuck in the mission the whole time.
Hmm.
And I would have liked something like if they'd done this long of a lifespan to maybe implement some new areas or something like that.
Yeah, they didn't even do
And
that.
I realize that's a lot of work and stuff, but they did this whole new add-on and stuff with Dr. Dre and new music and like it's cool, but you're still playing in the same old map and doing it. Like I don't know how many times I gotta fly to the same skyscraper.
Yeah.
And,
Well, that's
like,
the thing.
I don't know. It's cool still, but I'm kind of really burnt out on the map.
Well, and the big thing with I'd say newer open world games, let's face facts, GTA 5 is like 7-8 years old at this point. At the time, yeah. So, and you think like when I was talking about Legion, like, hey, I get on this big drone, I can fly up, I can land here. There's entrances to these areas. I'm like, because it has like verticality, right? I thought that was cool, and which is going to lead into the next thing, a game that you.
it came out. Grand Theft Auto Online came out October 1st, 2013.
Jeez, that's crazy. You know how long ago? It's 2023, so it'll be 10 years old next year. 10 years
I've
old.
been playing in that same map for like 10 years.
During like 9 years, we're like over it, really. Because
we
anymore.
had it on 360.
Yeah,
playing it,
yeah.
Then, went to PS4.
Oh my God, I didn't even realize it. Okay, folks,
now the PS5.
that game is a decade old, so the technology, 6 should have been out by now.
It's still great. It's still a ton of fun, but
yeah.
10 years in the same map.
That's a lot, man. That's a lot. Yeah, it only took them 5 or 6 to get to the casino.
Stuff.
Yeah. No, and the thing is that Legion gives you that verticality. Like I said, it gives you, now there's a subway I go underneath and stuff, which is going to lead me to a game that you bought and then got into a series when we talked about it on the year review, which was the Yakuza series. But you bought Judgment. I recently picked it up, and because it was on sale, and you got all of them. I have all of them, and one of the things that I love about Judgment and the Yakuza series is especially the later Yakuzas, is like the map, while small, is so dense. And so there's a lot of verticality, and you go in this building, this has a stair to go up to this part, and you can go to one building, lets you go to the roof, and it's like there's a sense of, you could even like open a sewer grate and find shortcuts and run along the sewer, and there's like people down there, and you can get side stories there. I don't know if you've seen that or not in the game. Yeah. So I said, there's this whole like playing it. I kept telling myself, like, see, as much as this map is, you can put that in a corner of GTA. It's 5's map. But Camarocho has so many people walking around at different times of the day. There's this sense of not only is it lived in, right? Especially at night, it's really bright and poppy. And then there's like dark alleys, and you go like, don't go down there. But I love the fact that it has like the sewers, and I can go underneath. So there's the sewers, and find shortcuts. But then I can go to the roof of the building, like I was saying. So there's verticality and underground stuff, and then you got the main city, and it's just seamlessly walking in and out of stores and places, and it's like GTA 5 doesn't have any of that. You can go inside the casino, you can go inside the buildings and stuff you own.
Sewer, you could go on top of buildings,
but yes,
the stuff's there, but you can't just go inside any building. And to be fair, you can't really do it in the Yakuza.
No, you can't.
A lot more,
I
think. And it's not like dedicated missions necessarily.
But I feel like though that those games.
No, you can't like just go down into like a sewer, like a manhole, like you can. In these games. Like you got to find underpass and drive down.
And I kind of feel like it's GTA's got all the subway systems. It's got all those things, but I feel like.
It's an impressive world still.
It's
for
just
how old it is. Like it's got the train system. And you can follow tracks all the way around. It's still really impressive.
But I feel like that.
But Judgment, I can only speak for Judgment because that's the one that I got. But it is. That's the one I'm playing rather. So on the year review, of course, I had I had the first one.
Yeah.
Whatever it was, because it was free on the thing.
Yeah.
So they were on sale. So I decided to get, what was it, Kiwami and Zero and 5, because they're $5 each.
Yeah, 0 and then Kiwami and Kiwami 2, and then 3, 4, 5, and 6 the Song of Life.
Yeah. So then I was like, okay, well, I'll wait on the collection because it wasn't on sale. I'm like, I'll play, the first couple that'll give me time, and then I'll see if I like it and then get the rest. Well, as soon as that sale ended, that same day, the collection went on sale.
Wow. You had to get it.
For $15.
Yeah, you had to get it.
Again, $5 each. And I was like, okay, well, I'll go ahead and get them while they're on sale.
Yeah.
And I'd had Judgment on like Black Friday deal or whatever. So, I'm all stocked up now. So I was hoping, it's not like it was a ton of money anyway. But I was hoping I liked Judgment playing. And it's really good. But then, so I started... So on to this specifically now. This is the one that I started with Judgment.
Yeah.
Looks really good.
Yeah.
But I'm playing on the PS5 version of it, so it's a little bit updated graphics
Yeah.
and stuff. Looks really good. Controls pretty good. Like the fights and stuff, very in depth. Like,
Oh yeah.
it's pretty cool.
Two different fighting styles. You
like-
can run and jump up a wall and finish somebody, and the finishers
Yeah,
are kind of
yeah.
brutal. Yeah.
I kind of like the realistic fighting in certain games more, but like this one's so fun though too. At
Yeah, it's
times.
supposed to be
I
over the
got
top.
jumped earlier, and like I literally picked up a motorcycle and started swinging it around.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
People, I was like, "What the fuck?" But it was hilarious though. And then
and that goes back
the
to
story's
just
really good.
yeah, that goes back to real quick on that motorcycle stuff and all that. That goes back to the Japanese, even to this day, love those old side scroller beat 'em ups, and that's where that comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've been right so far on the story. Like the story is very gripping. Now, my big concern though, for a little bit, and it's starting to kind of die down a little bit now, was you got this map, and it's not super big. There is a lot of things to do, but then it was kind of like, okay, I kind of walked around and did some of the side stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm just like running back and forth doing missions, like just trying to get through this, like trying to get more of the story.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, okay, is this going to get old after a while? Because I feel like maybe that side stuff's not really, like there's not that much. However, I guess I realize now that the game is so long, it's like just a slow, you got to like halt your expectations a little bit and just kind of take your time with it, because now as I'm going through, more things are opening up to do.
Yeah, that's what
Like,
it does.
I found a whole casino in this one that I didn't know
Uh-huh.
even existed. So then I was down there playing poker for however long, and
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I just need to calm down and just experience it
Yeah, because the story
and trust it.
is good, and the Yakuzas do the same thing. You'll be like, well, it doesn't feel like there's as much to do, but as you progress, things open up. Like, I mean, like, in Yakuza, for example, this one too, I believe, I haven't hit it yet, but, like, you'll be able to, like, go clothes shopping and, like, change all my clothes out. Like, I had Cosmic Cure, I had bunches of, like, attire I could wear, and I'm like, well, that's cool. I could just wear a different suit every day. Or I could...
Yeah.
And it's like little things begin to open up, like the records that are in the game, like in his office. Like you can find those in the world, and you put it in first person mode, and you kind of look for them. So and you can walk around first person, which is kind of a different perspective. But that's what happens in those games. It's like more things open up for you to do as you progress the story. At some point, everything will be. And you'll just be like, okay, now when I'm walking around, I have a lot of options,
Yeah.
And you get like, and the side stuff that you run into average people on the street, and then if you wait around too, like if your fights take too long in the game, like it says, like the police show up and you can get arrested, so you got to be like shit, and then they do like some of the run through the city stuff and quick time stuff. So I feel
Those
like
fights are hilarious.
Yeah,
I think, like,
yeah.
It's so funny, because I'll be running to a mission, and sometimes it's annoying too. I'll just be running to a mission, and all of a sudden, street thugs just want to kick my ass all of a sudden.
No.
And it's like, all right, let me beat you up real quick.
Well, the ones that
Yeah.
talk to you, man, they cuss at you. They're like, you fucking asshole, and they say all kinds of shit. You're like, God, it's jarring. But that's the thing, though. That's what makes. And of course, you got your skill tree, so you level up your skills. And my buddy Richard was over, and he was yesterday, and he was playing Yakuza Like a Dragon, right? Which is the next Yakuza game.
Right?
Yeah. The fighting still looks like the fighting, but then it pauses and you'll hit like attack, and all still done in the street. It's just not in real time. It's really weird.
Yeah, it's weird,
But again, like it's really funny, like the stuff and the voice acting and just like the story and like the stuff you do, and I don't own it, but that's definitely on my gotta get when it goes on the sale list, because I was like, it's part of that series. Right?
I just seen a thing earlier today. I think it's Amazon.
Yeah.
has like a steel book of that or something on sale. It was like $15.
Oh, that's not bad. Yeah.
And then it is on Game Pass too for anybody who's got Xbox.
Xbox.
But,
Okay.
but yeah, I think it's on sale for $15 on like Amazon.
The other thing too that's really neat about Judgment is different from Kazuma Kiryu from Yakuza. You're playing a guy that was a lawyer turned detective, and you got to do detective stuff and follow people and use your drone and take pictures and like snope out stuff. And it's really, that's neat, even though it's not as sophisticated, obviously, as like the Arkham series where Batman you do detective stuff, right? But there's not a whole lot of games that just let you do detective shit. Like there's just find clues, do things. It's just not there. Hardly any games outside of maybe the Arkham series, the Sherlock Holmes series, and L.A. Noire, right? Like there's just not that.
One of the best ones,
yeah,
too.
and that's not one. That's not a genre, or at least an idea where you get to do that.
Dogs have that mechanic in there at all? I know it's like a, it's a cop game.
No.
I don't remember anything like that or not.
No, it doesn't. But it's just
I love
neat.
games though, like where you play as a, police of some sort, like and do those kind of things. There's not a lot of that kind of thing.
No, not at all.
I guess you could look at like the Sherlock Holmes type of games and things like that, but it's not really the same either.
I own one of those actually.
Yeah, I think I did too. Like,
I own Sherlock Holmes. I want to say I either own Devil's Daughter or I own Crimes and Punishment. I think Devil's Daughter, because it was
Crimes and Punishment's the one I have. I think it was.
And that's like you get to watch this stuff, but then you get to walk around London, and it's kind of open world. The one on 360 I had was Sherlock Holmes versus Jack the Ripper, and I'm infinitely fascinated with that case. So it's kind of like I had to get it, and I used to play that. But that detective element,
Sherlock Holmes Sega CD game. You remember?
Well, way back in the day.
Yeah, I always wanted to play it too, and never did. I still never played it.
Yeah, hell, they put some Sega CD stuff out on PS4, 5, whatever. You could probably, you never know,
Yeah.
Just give me some Sewer Shark. But they had, but it's nice to see. Like I said, I bought it because it was on sale, and I've been wanting a Judgment for a while. And just again, I played it for probably 2.5 hours. 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and it's I was sitting there just playing it, going like these game series is nice. The characters are big, they're bright, bold, everything looks good, it feels good, the fighting is over the top. It's just, and it's a game series, Yakuza included, and even Fist of North Star. It's the way that they combined all the different elements of a lot of different games and just done such a good job on that. Like between good story and good writing, graphics are great. The combat is fun and top notch and over the top. The side stuff is kind of zany and silly at times, but then the story is super serious, and you're just like, it just encompasses with this densely packed small map with verticality and like just lots to do, and especially once you start playing through it and more open up, you're just like, you start realizing like, good grief, like there's so much. And I've always said, I wish other game people out there would look at the series and people who develop games. Hey, we're going to make an open world game. And a lot of those game companies look at that and say, well, look how big our map is, right? Like they just try to get into that whole pissing contest that, hey, we've got 400 square miles, we've got 1,000 whatever, and you think, but if you're not doing anything in the open world and it feels lifeless, or if you're not densely packed, and you look at something like I said, Kamurocho is so small, but yet it feels much larger than it actually is.
And some games do that in a way, like you remember Fallout 3, right? That was one of its things, because they were like, no, it's smaller than Elder Scrolls, but like there's more to do.
Yeah.
And it was like that. But not everybody gets it.
Yeah,
That kind of
that's
thing.
very
And,
true.
you know, there's certainly things in Judgment that feels very generic, even though that mechanic's there.
Uh-huh.
To me, like, there's definitely games that do some of these elements better, but, like, it's a good representation of the overall package.
Yeah.
And, like, the story, you know, you're definitely right about that. Like, the story is damn good in Judgment so far. Like, I would just watch it as a movie.
Well, wait till you play the Yakuza,
and then, like,
and you're going to be like, holy shit. Cause
yeah,
it is...
and then, like, just some other thing, like, all the other stuff is just kind of to occupy you while you get to the story, I guess. And that's cool. There's, you know, lots to do and kind of makes you feel a part of it. But
I think in
really, really good. And I just wrapped up the first chapter, so I'm really early in Judgment. But, you know, it took like 5 hours to get through the first chapter.
Yeah. And that's the thing
me.
about it.
And I'm like taking my time. I'm not really rushing through.
Yeah.
But I'm not playing around too much either. I'm just doing the main missions. And like 5.5 hours later, I'm on chapter 2.
Yeah.
And like ready to see more of the story. So
yeah, and that's the thing with those, because one of the things that hooked me with Yakuza 0, because I love mob stuff anyway, and this Japanese mob, it's one particular story that you do in the game that's not, it's one of the non-main quests but interesting side quests where you go to this guy and he's supposed to be like this dental guy or whatever, or doctor. His receptionist is blind, and this guy does some stuff on the side he's not supposed to be doing, and Kazuma goes sees him, and she's talking and has no clue that the guy's took his shirt off, he's got a knife, y'all about to fight. And the way they do this scene, it's kind of like they don't want to lose, they're going to fight because he cares for this woman. He doesn't know who Kazuma really is or what his intentions are. I'm going to leave it at that. But when you watch that, I was sitting there just like on the edge of my seat, like reading the dialogue, and the way that they did that, I was like, this is crazy, you know, like, and that's when I realized, like, this game's story writing is so fucking good. I sang its praise and have for a long time. I tell people all the time, you just need to play it. It is just absolutely phenomenal game series.
Yeah, I mean, the series has a huge following. I just never got into it. You know, and I think my reason for not getting into it really is because a lot of those earlier ones were on like PS2 and stuff, and I never had that. I was always Camp Xbox.
Yeah.
I don't know. Was there any on Xbox at all up until?
I don't think so. Zero was the first one that was brought over to the West. So Zero was made specifically for the West and for Japanese audience. But like the Ryuga Gatoko Studios was like, we want to bring one over here. So we made Zero because Zero was the basically prequel to 1. And this is where you find out, you see Kiryu's origins and how things came to be and how things are set up. So it's kind of like when Zero came out, I was like, they're bringing the Yakuza. I had heard about the series. I knew the first one, Kiwami, was in Japan. I knew that. But Zero was the first one ever brought to the West, and that was put on the PS4. It was not put on any of the earlier systems. I don't know if the Yakuza series probably was on PS3 and all that, but just, and maybe even 360, but I think it's one of those things where I feel like it just was never brought over here. So while Japan was able to enjoy that game series, right, we never had it until Zero. When Zero came out and got such glowing reviews from websites and from Angry Joe and other like YouTube content creators, it just got big. For example, when it came out, I'd convinced Asa to buy it, right? Like, and I worked with him at Sam's, and I said, I'm telling you, you're gonna love this game. And I showed him stuff on it. He said, you know what? I've been needing something new to play. He came back in. I came in the next day after he had played it, and played it for a while. Like the very next day, he came in. He just put his hand down. I shook his hand. He goes, "Man, that's one of the best games I've ever played, man. That story is incredible." I was like, "Yeah, I knew it, So, and I've been kind of singing this praise since. So I'm glad that you have the series, and it's interesting because when you think about it, you're going to be playing Kazuma Kiryu's entire story takes 6 games. So it's like,
let me ask
fuck.
You, okay, now do they all? Now you said they mostly take place in
Kamurocho,
right?
They all do. Yeah, that's the main city.
Like, is it the same map every time, or is it?
It is the
how
same.
Different is
it is the same. It's not the same map every time. It's the same map as far as it's
like geographically
way it's designed, but they always add new stores, new things to do, and different things along that lines. Even though, like, Judgment's interesting because I'm like, this thing that I'm seeing, this part of Kamurocho, what they like, the little outdoor restaurant little area that's in the middle, and I'm like, okay, that wasn't even in any of the Yakuzas. Right, so it's kind of like they always keep the size the same, but then they add stuff because that's that philosophy though that Japanese is on an island, so it's kind of like they had to build up or around or add so the things, and that's what the game series does. They keep that same odd design of what they do over there because they are limited for space, so they do the same thing with the games to make it seem more realistic. In Kamurocho as a district, it's not real. It's completely made up, So it's something that they developed, but they went around and looked at different places to get the ideas for it. So it's the same map as far as size. Now,
because I was wondering if after, because like the games are so long, and like this one's in it. Like if I go back on, I'll be like, oh, this place, like again.
Yeah. Well, what happens is you'll do some stuff in the series where it's like, okay, take a cab, and you'll get in the cab on the outlying areas, and you'll be at a completely different place. One of the Yakuzas, I want to say it's Kiwami, you leave the city and you go to this funeral. And it's a pretty big area to explore and do stuff. And then a couple of the games, like Song of Life, for example, you actually don't stay in Kamurocho. You start the game off at this other island area that's got totally different things to do. There's like docks, and you can fish, and then that's Kamakura's orphanage and where he was raised or whatever. I don't want to ruin anything for you, but you explore all that, but then eventually you go back to Kamurocho, which is kind of like the nexus of everything that goes on, right? The Tojo clan's there, the different clans, the Yakuza. So it's like, and I think one or two more games, there's 2 maps. What really gets into Yakuza, especially 6, there's this whole weird gang element where you create your own gang and you recruit gangs. I actually got a bunch of gang members that you can recruit that are just New Japan pro wrestlers that lent their likeness and voice and all that stuff, so it's pretty neat.
Yeah,
and then the gang big giant warfare you see is like a 3/4 overhead, almost like a mini game, and you're fighting all these people. It's like you'd have to see it. It's like, what? And it's a whole another game onto itself. Just like that's what they did with the slot car racing in there. You can build cars, different tires, different engines, different this, and you're racing the slot cars.
Yeah, this has
it's like
drone racing and Judgment.
It's got this whole
race drones.
It's like a whole other game within it. And it's, karaoke bars in Yakuza is a
annoys
mini game.
Me, and I think they fixed it for Lost Judgment, and I don't know if it's anything in Judgment that I will unlock or anything, but like I'm running around and I'm like, man, I'd like to get there faster. But I think in Lost Judgment they put a skateboard, like you can use a skateboard to get around.
And the thing is, I guess the good thing is because it's not a GTA size map with no cars.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
Yeah, it's still like you can get to places pretty quickly. I mean, because I run everywhere. In the Yakuza series, you can actually run and or walk slowly, and the only reason that is because if you're running, the people who might want to beat you up say, "Hey, what's that guy? Oh, it's him," because you're running. Everybody else is walking around. You stand out. So sometimes you can walk past, but you can run away from battles and not fight anybody. they always make that optional. So if someone's like, hey, you can just be like, fuck you, turn tails and go. So it's kind of nice. It's nice that they did that, but you know, that's the thing. Like, I'm glad that you are getting into that series, and I'm glad because it is a great series, and that's something that I started to play. You're playing it, and that's they're just it's just a fantastic game world. Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
And I do like that of course they put the arcade games in there. It's cool. One thing, you know, I went to one of the arcades and it had like 3 or 4 games in it, a claw machine and stuff. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So like I won something on the claw machine, played a couple games, and I'm like, okay, I guess that's what's in this one. Well, then I went to another arcade and it had different games in it, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then like just before we started this, I was playing a little bit, and I unlocked the arcade machine in my office.
Yeah, the pinball machine.
Outrun on that.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's neat. That's really neat. See, and that's cool because that's just little things that game does, and because it's a Sega company, they're like, we can put whatever Sega games we want on there, right?
Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah, and there's a I don't know if you have it unlocked because I don't have it unlocked, but there's a VR thing to do in there too.
I haven't tried it. Yeah, I haven't tried it. I don't know if I can. I must be locked. Maybe.
And the batting cages, you can go do batting cages there too.
Yeah, I haven't done that either. I just got the casino though.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it's pretty cool because drinks are free, like in real casinos. And now it's not like, I don't know if there's more than just this one in the game or not, but like it had poker and blackjack.
Yeah.
And that was really it, I think. Mm-hmm. But I would have liked like a more full-fledged casino. But like it was cool to sit and play poker. Because I played poker for probably half an hour, and like you're betting, like your chips and stuff. Yeah. I guess you can cash in or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. See, that's the thing. That's funny you say that. Play for like a half hour because I went to the one arcade. I was like, oh, Virtua Fighter 5. I'm gonna play that, and I played like 40 minutes of it. I was like, this is ridiculous. And then it made me go, wait a minute, I actually own this game. This was a PS Plus game a couple months ago. I'm just going to download that. So I downloaded it. So I was like, it's just funny. I was like, I just can't believe like I
played Virtua Fighter 2 on there because I think 2 and 5 both are on Judgment. Yeah. And then I realized how crappy I was at Virtua Fighter.
Well,
I'm never really good at that game.
Yeah. It's funny though. Like I said, folks, if just to kind of wrap this little subject up, if you watch this video, really give those games a shot. I mean, you won't be disappointed unless you just hate video games. It's just, I mean, it's like they're different. They have a different kind of art style, a different kind of look. Different kind of feel, and if you're wanting something that's different, but with elements of stuff that you've played before, you gotta play those because those Judgments, what I played so far is excellent. I don't expect it to get. It's not going to be turned worse, and the Yakuza series is excellent. There's 6 of those, and even the Fist of the North Star game, which I love that anime, and it plays just like it. It's just awesome. The way that and I think that's a studio that I will always look out for. At some point I'll get Like a Dragon, and at some point I'll get Lost Judgment. And then I can put that in my folder and be like, hey, I got all of them. It's like it's one of those things.
It's cool for sure. And somebody who's kind of late to the game and just jumping in it, I've kind of got quickly schooled on it. And some of those questions I asked the last time, but. The Yakuza, really, that series, you're on the crime side. In the Judgment series, you're part of like detective cop side.
Yeah.
And it's isolated stories, really. So, I don't know. I guess for me, I think Judgment's a pretty good spot to kind of jump in.
Yeah.
For that game style, not really for the Yakuza story. Part, but like, because the most up-to-date graphics, the more refined experience, you can really kind of get. If you didn't want to just start from the beginning, like it's a good start point for sure. To kind of
absolutely, I agree with you.
That kind of stuff. But I do want to check out now. Like, I don't know if I get through this one, I don't know if I want to do Lost Judgment or go and check out like Yakuza 0 or something.
Yeah.
I haven't made that decision yet, but
you'll find Zero, that game, because it wasn't until I think it's either Yakuza 3 or 4 where they started doing the seamless walking in and out of buildings where it doesn't load.
yeah,
Where Zero loads, it's not like some long load times. It's nothing like that. It's just at the time they were like, well, how do we do this? So it was like it's gotten better, and now you can do all that. But Zero still has an incredible story and just the stuff that goes on. And Kazuma Kiryu is literally one of my favorite video game characters. He's a Yakuza. He's a Yakuza guy. Yes, they're criminal, but he actually has a moral compass. He's very there's things you do and do not do, and he's very big on that. He's very big on. He's kind of got a heart of gold, and a lot of that comes from being raised in an orphanage. But it's neat to play that side where other people around him could care fucking less, and it's neat to how he butts heads, but he still has friends, and it's just he's such a great character because he's so fleshed out as a character, and he's so popular that in the Fist of North Star, I have the DLC where instead of playing as Kenshiro, you play as Kazuma Kiryu. So it's like he's like, what am I doing here? And it's just neat that they did that. And another thing that just to show his popularity again, the Yakuza series has really blown up overseas, and here now it was huge. And that collection was big time. People were buying it up. In my beloved Dynasty Warriors, I actually have DLC costumes, and for Lubu, I have the classic white, red shirt, white suit, Kazuma Kiryu outfit. I can walk around looking like the Yakuza. So it's that's so funny. I'm wearing his suit. So that bled into other games. So it's he's an iconic character that nobody knows about. It's people. So no, it's great. I'm glad that you're liking it, man. I really am, because it's an awesome game.
It's cool so far. It's cool so far, and I guess it really depends on how Judgment ends. And I won't go looking that up. But if it's some big cliffhanger, I'll probably just jump into Lost.
You gotta go play Lost Judgment.
Just keep going.
Yeah,
because it's one more game versus 6 other ones.
Yeah, and the thing with that is that even though the Yakuzas all have self-contained stories, they all kind of connect in a way. So it's and because of your character you're playing as Kazuma, so it's and his character arc starts at 0 and ends in 6, and you're just shit, that's a lot of game, a lot to play through just to get through that. But no, it's a good series.
I do like how good Judgment looks too, and
it's very good.
It's pretty cool. I looked into I don't know if we talked about this or not, but the voice actor, of course, lends his likeness, and it's this pop star, and I guess he's in talks of doing. I thought it was a movie, but I guess he's in talks of reprising that character for a TV series.
Yeah, there's a lot of voice actors in there that Fred Tatascore's on there. He voices. The one white-suited Yakuza guy that gets thrown in jail, he's done, look up his voice acting credits, it's ridiculous. He's done everything. And then you look up, and then your Yakuza friend with a flashy shirt that's in your office, that's Crispin Freeman voices him, and he voiced Dracula and Hellsing, but funny enough, he voiced Baldur in Two Human, my favorite game. So it's as soon as he spoke, I was like, that's Crispin Freeman. I just knew his voice right out the bat without even looking up who's who, what's what.
And that is something else too. And I don't know about how the other ones are, but with Judgment anyway, I think because it's one of the later ones, you can do English voice acting, and or you can do the regular
Japanese
localized stuff, and with English subtitles and stuff. No, I don't know. I like keeping things how they're meant to be, but I find it really hard in games though to just rely on subtitles and leave it in the Japanese or whatever. Because I don't know, I'm playing, I guess, and I'm not. I don't know. I just find it's different. It's harder, I think, when you're playing and trying to read subtitles.
I would sit back playing Yakuza 0, for example, Kiwami 2. They all are in Japanese with English subtitles. It wasn't until later games, right? So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, and I
And it's
think
okay. I'll be okay with that. But
once I kind of found a good sitting spot to where I could kind of watch what was going on and glance and watch and glance. It wasn't. I got so used to it that the subtitles didn't bother me, and because the story was so good, the dialogue was so good. I was like, I got to know what's being said. And to me,
yeah,
it was like, well, it makes sense. They're in Japan. They probably should be speaking Japanese. So
yeah,
over
yeah.
time, it didn't bother me. But it's nice when the later games, and I think the only one that gives you English is
Is it
five
like
and
six or something
six.
like that?
Six does. I
Yeah.
don't. A five may not, but I want to say six definitely does. But it's funny though because I still played six with the Japanese subtitles, and anybody
Yeah.
that wants
I
to
guess in that world, if you played
or,
all the rest that
or
way,
the
you might
English
as well
subtitles,
finish up the
yeah.
right way.
Yeah, and that's kind of the way I
Yeah.
did it. And they do have a recap of events. You can watch recap of the story of pretty much 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the games do that if you decide to come. Like I want to get the latest game. Like now you can see what's happened up until then, but it's interesting. They just did a good job on all the way around. So it's a good series and definitely one that's definitely worth checking out. In my
Yeah.
opinion. So
And I know what you mean too, because like we watch like kung fu movies and stuff. Like, even if there's a dubbed option, I'll leave it on like Cantonese or whatever, and just watch the subtitles instead. But
yeah,
I find it in games it's just harder for me. But I'm sure I'd get used to it.
yeah, absolutely. And it's just, like I said, just good game series. My hat's off to the studio. They have that's the only type of games they basically they did that. They also made the Virtual Fighter series too. They're involved in that. So hats off to them. I mean, they really have done a great job without like I don't no microtransactions, no this, no that. They still have been very old school and sticking with story and gameplay, and that's very rare nowadays. So
Yeah.
it's good to see that. So what else? What else have you been playing since we spoke last? I know
Well, I finished
outside
up
of
Halo.
that's good.
Yeah, yeah. So I've been trying to stick with mostly playing a single game at a time. So I finished up Halo. That was
Oh, real
great.
quick with Halo, and not spoiling it, not telling anybody. Do you like the way it ends?
Um, yeah, it was fine. I didn't have any
Okay.
problem with it. Is it a
Okay.
thing? I guess. Did you
No,
not like it?
I'm not saying that. I just you never know if they were like leave on a cliffhanger because Halo
Oh,
Guardians or
well,
whatever where the
yeah,
two people like you're gonna fight this guy but you don't really fight the guy and it's people were pretty pissed about
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's nothing like that. But it's done in a way. Here's what I like about it, and I won't really say the ending or anything, but it wraps up really kind of like how a lot of games should. It wraps up kind of that story arc, but
Yeah,
then it kind of sets you up moving forward. But then it also ends in the way to where you're just right back out into the open world to like finish up all the stuff that you've
yeah,
done. Like you can keep playing after the campaign's over, not just credits and you have to reload and stuff.
yes,
And it was just like there was no effort to really just go back in. Even it just you have your end cutscene and you do all this stuff, and then your credits roll, and then there's more stuff, and then like you're just thrown right back into the world to wrap up whatever side stuff that you need to do.
okay,
But yeah, I didn't have any problem with the way the story ended. It's pretty cool.
good. That's good. That's good.
Um, gameplay solid all the way through. Some really frustrating moments in the campaign though, and like I don't know. I played lots of different games. I'm really kind of burnt out on the competitive multiplayer stuff. So I feel like this bar in gaming has like gotten so insane. Like I read something just a little bit ago saying some legendary Halo player played through the whole thing on legendary difficulty without getting hit, and I'm like, whatever. Like there's
Yeah, it's like
I can't even do that on easy.
Why would you even want to do
so,
that or put yourself through that kind of shit?
I feel like there's another level. So maybe to some people that stuff's not even challenging, but there's in the later part of the campaign, like just really dumb situations, and it was only really the last little bit that it was noticeable for me. Like most of the time in Halo, like if you die, it's because you did something stupid.
Yeah.
Or you just got unlucky, but the last couple bits, it was like, oh, come on, this is so stupid. And like, die and die and die and reload and hear the same, you know how that is, right?
Yeah.
You hear the same like sentence 50
well,
times.
It sounds like it's got like, I almost assume some kind of difficulty spike where it just spikes really hard.
Yeah,
now the boss
and
is a bullet sponge, and I got to shoot him with 1,001 rounds, and you're like, fuck, really? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of, I don't know, it wasn't even really that bad, and it got better like once you kind of, like most bosses are, you discover the trick, right?
Yeah.
And it was like, I died, and while it was super cheap, like I switched weapons and started using something different, and then like I got through it, and it was like, okay, I guess that was the key. But still, some of that stuff, like, and it was really just the major bosses, and I guess they should be tough because they're bosses, but I don't know. And then like there's some enemy types in Halo that I can't stand.
Yeah.
And I just hate fighting them any time I see them. So like some of that too, and I don't know, but not really a big deal and not anything to super complain about. But overall, really good story campaign, super fun. I didn't really get into the multiplayer. I heard it's good though, but
I want to say something about the multiplayer, and this is just addressing what I'm about to say. You're not gonna like what I have to say, people. But when have I ever not pulled punches on stuff? But I want to say this because I think it's important that everybody understands that this about Halo multiplayer in general, lots of games. Okay, let's just throw this out there. First of all, if you were 100% surprised that you had these crazy long grinds and you got these weird objective things you got to do before you level up, or then and you were just like, I can't believe they did that. You know what? You're a fucking moron, because that is what games have been doing for the past 5, 6, 7, 10 years. Did you really think they weren't going to monetize the Halo multiplayer when every other multiplayer does that? And if you thought that, why are you mad? I've seen a million videos on YouTube about it. Like, you all acted very surprised. Why? COD does it. Battlefield does it. They all do it. Fortnite, the free-to-play games, the non-free-to-play games, they all monetize it. The sports games, it's the standard now. It's a shitty standard. But guys, the gameplay is solid, and that's what holds it up. Halo's a great game series, and if you're mad about the multiplayer and you really were just like, I can't believe that, and they made the grind so ridiculous, and then they got all this XP, I gotta buy this, and oh my god, and pay for this. I'm like, if you really, really thought that wasn't going to be a thing, I don't understand how, when every year COD and Battlefield comes out, and this game you complain about that. It's never going to change. Why would you ever think that Bungie was going to not Bungie, but whoever was it, 343 Studios, who's made up of people who used to work at why would you think they wouldn't monetize it? Why would you even
especially
think
when
that?
The multiplayer is free to play.
Exactly. And it's amazing how many people are just got so mad about it and said, I'm only still playing it because the gunplay is good. Oh my God. Not to shit on you people, but I'm shitting on you people because what do you mean? How did you not know it was going to be that way? Like, that's a whole what the fuck moment. Like, how can you put on YouTube, I have seen them, look it up, Halo multiplayer sucks, and it's all about how they microtransactioned it. Why is anybody remotely surprised by it? Even if it wasn't free to play, they all do that. That's the standard. Give me a break,
it's just
people.
a loud internet crowd, though, just bitching to bitch.
But you know what I mean,
right? Because like but if you look at it though, like you got the big three in the multiplayer world, like Halo, Call of Duty, and Battlefield. And if you look at the internet, they all suck.
Yeah, basically.
But everybody's playing them all. So,
yeah, exactly. We love it. We're going to keep playing it. Yeah. I get that.
Microtransaction, and you can't have a free-to-play game and just all free everything. And really, I mean, who cares if a suit of armor costs this much money and whatever?
Yeah.
Like, you could also just play it and have fun. Back in Halo 1, like you couldn't unlock skins and you couldn't unlock stuff. Like you had colors and that was it. And it was fun.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was what was important, not here's my gun trinket and my whatever. And that stuff's cool, but like whatever.
I'm with you.
If you want them to support the game and keep adding more, they got to get paid still. So
somehow, some way, and it's just it's probably a lot of internet chatter, but at the same time, it's like when people act wholeheartedly surprised, it's like, surprise, motherfucker. No, it's ridiculous because it's like, why? Because they've been doing this now for so long now on every conceivable type of game. Why would you think it wouldn't be that way? That's just like, I mean, I get
Nobody
it because
likes anything though. It just makes me sick.
I mean, you're right.
Fucking internet and players alike anymore.
No, they hate it. They do
likes anything, and I've talked about this before. That's why I like certain channels. That just focus on the positive stuff. And there was some big announcement today, and it was like Respawn. Like 3 new Star Wars IPs coming, right?
Yeah.
Or not IPs, but 3 new Star Wars games announced, and it was a first-person shooter, an XCOM type of strategy game, and a sequel to what's that? I forget. Fallen Order or whatever it is.
Yeah, Fallen Order, by the way, is fantastic.
Yeah, which is awesome.
That game was
literally
great.
The first comment I seen was, "Oh, that's nice. Well, how about you fix your other games like this and whatever?" And I'm like, "Motherfucker!" It was funny. It made me laugh.
Like Respawn only made
whatever.
1 Star Wars game, so shut the fuck. Like, fix what? Like that's EA and the DICE.
It was actually complaining about some other game. What was their?
God.
I forget. Let me see.
Titanfall 2, Titanfall 1.
Oh, Apex Legends. That's
Apex Legends, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's nice. How about you fix Apex Legends? And it's like, get the fuck out. Nobody's talking about that.
Yeah.
I get it. Maybe you're upset about something there. Maybe it does need to be addressed, but it's like nobody can take anything without bitching about it.
No. Let's really segue into the big hoo-ha, the internet people again, but it is like, holy cow, a holy shit moment there was last year. It was Microsoft buying Bethesda and then announcing later on that like the Elder Scrolls 6 would be a PC Microsoft exclusive. A lot of people pissed about that, but the big one, big $70 million worth, they bought Activision Blizzard. And it was so big that a congressperson actually weighed in on that buying and basically quoted as saying to the equivalent like, well, that with all the lawsuits and walkouts and sexual misconduct and things going on, I would hope that Microsoft would hold that side to like basically like the standards that like they haven't had. And like, so the Congress guy was like, we'll kind of be looking into that from the outside. And I was like, well, that's interesting if Congress is weighing in on it, or at least one congressperson was asked about it. So, and he's familiar enough to actually talk about it. So I was sitting there going like, the big thing was Phil Spencer was like, we talked to Sony. We're not going to make like COD not available to people. All Sony had, and other games, Sony said, well, we have contract obligations that they have to fulfill for us. The real question is,
and they were hoping they would honor it still.
Yeah, and I think they're going
that,
to. Yeah. They said that we have a good working relationship with Sony, and which is like kind of telling to me. I was like, Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
supposed to be
Now we can
competitors, but
talk.
but you're really not. You know, so it's like
Yeah,
everybody
yeah,
benefits, and then you get into the whole thing where it's like, here's my thing though. The real big question would be, once those contract obligations were fulfilled, if that means, let's say 3 years from now, then would Microsoft be free and clear to say, okay, we all that shit's ours and nobody's getting it, right?
yeah.
That's
Well,
that's the real question.
okay. So now I love Phil Spencer, by the way. Like ever since he took over this Xbox thing and making some of these moves, like I love the way he's approaching stuff. I love this generation of the Xbox. I love his responses to questions. Like he's got it going on. I think he's got a good vision for the
Yeah.
future of the console and gaming and stuff.
No, I agree.
So now that has really nothing to do with what you just said, but I just had to say that, I guess.
No, it's all good.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously you don't do contracts in perpetuity. You know, it's for a limited kind of window at least. But I think it would be dumb for Microsoft to limit it to just Xbox with a game like Call of Duty because it's such a large scale franchise and you make so much money releasing it on everything. So I feel like that's going to stay. I don't know why you would do that. Now,
Well,
what's gonna
he
end,
said
though,
that to that effect.
yeah. Now, what's definitely going to end is Call of Duty and PlayStation have had this ongoing thing to where PlayStation gets stuff first. You know, like whatever. It's always had kind of the drop with some kind of bonus with Call
I
of
might
Duty.
get the 3 new maps first for a month or whatever.
Yeah. And I think that's probably going to come to an end, whether
Oh yeah.
that's part of that contract that we see for a little bit longer or what.
Which by the way,
Um,
I'm okay with that because I've always felt that was stupid. Like, well, then I gotta wait a month, and then they get it, and then it's like if my friends have a
Yeah,
PlayStation, especially with crossplay now, because crossplay's a thing. It's like, so if they have the map that I don't, I just get kicked out of the group. Fuck that.
yeah, I don't know. And I don't know. I don't really care about that either. Like, I mean, there's got to be trade-offs. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
There's going to be trade-offs in one system or another.
Yeah,
So that's kind of one of those things. Like, it sucks for people that's on the bad side of the tape, but whatever, I guess. Now, what I think really... Here's the thing. I think short-term, we're going to see all those come to Game Pass.
Yeah.
And I think day and date with new releases, it's going to be Game Pass on launch day. And I think that's really like what we're going to see right off. And then I think we're going to see some of those older franchises come back because he's made a statement.
Yeah,
Phil
he did.
Spencer,
Yes.
About, you know, like he wants to see some of these old franchises again. So I think there's going to be that. I think those
some more
back catalog
more
games,
remasters. Yeah.
yeah, or just, you know, a new continuation of something.
Yeah.
New Guitar Hero or whatever.
Yeah.
I think, you know, they'll do the back catalog to Game Pass because that's what they've done, you know,
Yeah.
with all these acquisitions so far. And then, like, you know, the Game Pass extends also to PC.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're going to see StarCraft and Diablos and things like that probably come to the Game Pass for PC. Hopefully we would get some console ports of StarCraft or some of those games like that.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that. What I really think, though, is I feel like Xbox, I think they have a good, solid vision for the long term of gaming, though.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
they got this Game Pass now, which, you know, seeing how Netflix took over. Like, I remember when Netflix was, you go to the website and you pick out a couple movies and they mail it to you.
Yeah, you were actually one of
You
the
watched
earlier
it.
adopters, yeah.
Yeah, and you mail it back, and it was pretty cool. And then they started the streaming thing, and I was like, well, that's cool, but there's not a lot on there. And now that's like all it is,
Yeah.
you know. And people's talked about doing a subscription game thing, and Netflix is trying to get into gaming and stuff. It's going to fail, I'm going to tell you right now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They're done.
But Game Pass has got it. They got it down. And
Yeah.
they've started doing the cloud thing to where you could just open up your browser, open up your phone, and you can play some of these games. And I think it's the legit. They're moving towards that console-less future.
Yeah.
And when they have all these acquisitions like this, like that's their content. They're building up. They're getting ready for this long-term thing that we're going to see.
Well, too, I think the other side of that, not just from a business standpoint, even though apparently the acquisition costed Sony like $11 billion in revenue right off the bat, but or something crazy like that. I think the other side is too, a lot of those higher up people that are in these lawsuits and are in trouble and the stuff that's going on, I feel like Microsoft will just quietly let those people go and be like, yeah, we don't need you now. Like, because they haven't talked about that side, but I really feel like that Microsoft is an up company, and so I think they're going to be like, okay, guys, here's your memo. You don't work here anymore, because they don't want that. Because now think about it. They bought a company that's under a lot of heat right now, right? And have been under heat, and they can't. That's a lot of money to pay for a company that has incredibly bad press. I mean, from the Bobby Kotick stuff, from them letting J. Allen Breck go, from the Blizzard side of things, who had worked on World of Warcraft and Diablo and stuff, and he's gone. And it's just one of those things where I feel that, maybe not right away, but I feel that Microsoft's going to go in and kind of clean house a little bit. I don't know why feel like it's
really.
Yeah.
Because you would get rid of a lot of that kind of I don't know, stigma, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Those companies, if you do that. And like, they got really great internal studios that could pitch in and help out.
Yeah.
And like enough money to do anything they wanted.
Yeah.
So like, it would be okay from the development side. And I don't, like, okay, Sony has definitely been kicking Microsoft's ass with like first party titles for a while. And they got some incredible stuff, Last of Us and God of War and Spider-Man, and like, you could go on and on with like these solid Sony IPs. Microsoft doesn't have as many. However, there's not really very many bad ones either.
No.
So like, which ones they have been great. So now, you're accumulating even more IPs to kind of compete with this heavy-handed Sony, that's been kicking ass for years now.
Oh, yeah.
And then you got Game Pass on top of it. They're setting it up really good, I think. And
I think so.
And I think, I feel like our days are limited with consoles and physical copies of stuff. And, and it has been. I don't think we were quite ready yet to let go of that, but it's every generation it's getting less and less physical copies.
Well,
now we actually have versions of these consoles to where we don't have a disc. Both of them do. And I think, if it's not the next one, or it's going to be the one after, to where you just kind of buy your device to connect to your TV and the internet, and you just stream games and do the subscription service or whatever.
And it's interesting because Nintendo Switch, who is not, again, I love Nintendo because they took the opposite approach. Like, we're not competing with you. We're gonna do our own thing, and they're like badass. Like, the Switch is a crazy seller, and they did the whole, hey, I can play Control, and because Control is too large of a game, right? They have the cloud version up to play for free, and they have Dying Light. It's too big of a game to put on our system. Our little cards we've got, so we'll do a version of it for free. You can just stream it, play it, and they're embracing that. So it's nice. And like I said, I embraced digital gaming a while back, a few years ago, because I just realized like how much I liked, like, and that goes back to the 360, where I was like, I love the fact that I can install a game and the disc loads up and it stops spinning, and I'm just playing it because Xbox and overheating issues. But I still
360 was loud anyway.
Yeah.
When you're playing
Yeah.
on the disc,
Yeah, and it's nice on my PlayStation 4. That's in its like 8th year. It's like got my external hard drive, got all these games. Just pick a game, go, boom, it loads without having to get a disc, without having to worry about it getting scratched. It's just funny because the days of me, like, even walking into a GameStop or someplace to buy a game, unless it's an old game, like going to a Game Exchange or TF Games where I'm looking for old stuff that you can't get digitally, I'm just digital most of the time. I'm even thinking like, well, New Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires is coming out. I have all the other ones in digital format, so might as well.
Yeah,
I'll either get that, and unless my beautiful fiance decides to get it for me for Valentine's, and she buys me a hard copy. But anyway, because it comes out on the 15th. But here's the whole thing. I feel like that acquisition, I don't look at it like negatively. A lot of people are looking negatively, but you're internet haters. Activision bought Blizzard. It's all over. We'll never be able to play anything again. You're like, oh, come on.
Do you think it's going to get kicked like the like regulators and stuff? Do you think it's going to get altered or nixed out, or do you think it'll go through?
I think it'll go through. I think it's the thing that Activision surprises me most is they wouldn't sell like the shareholders and the people who own the CEOs, Bobby Kotick and all those idiots. They wouldn't sell the company unless A, they are not doing well financially, which I can't believe that, right? I understand that like COD may not have, I get it, when Modern Warfare, what was it? Was it 3? When Modern Warfare, when Modern Warfare 3 came out, right? The player base had already dropped 43% then. It still makes a lot of money, especially the free-to-play Warzone thing. People just buying into that. But I have a hard, and I know Blizzard, they messed up with the Warcraft 3 Reforged, and people got refunds on that, and they kept trying to, the stuff that they're doing was bad, right? Bungie, who makes Destiny, left Activision and said, we're done with you. And that's a whole other can of worms there. But I feel like either they would have sold, they want to sell because financially they're not where they'd like to be and don't see themselves getting there, which I just find that very difficult to believe, giving all the different IPs and the stuff they make off Overwatch and everything else aside, right? Diablo 3, but people are still playing Diablo Resurrection. They just put out 2, which I own. So it's like, I feel if that's not the reasoning behind it, it's either, well, we're selling it because we're going to get, like, the shareholders like, we got to sell this shit and get out now before this lawsuit goes through or before we go to jail or whatever, and they're just bouncing, right? They're like, we're done. And the only thing is that it wasn't like other companies, which is like, where they're like, hey, we're up for sale, make us an offer. A lot of times in the big business world, that kind of becomes like, hey, it kind of gets, hey, we're on the market. It kind of slips out, and then somebody buys them. This was very much like so surprising because there was no info about it. Nobody knew anything about it. It was not even one of those things where it makes you wonder if somebody over at Xbox made a phone call, or I think it was vice versa. I think somebody in Activision like, we got to get out of this. This is going to be bad for us. We've got too much bad press. We're going to lose a ton of money. We got workers walking out on us. We got these allegations going on. We're bleeding employees. Like some of our good developers, women, men, whatever, they're leaving. We got to get out of the game. Like, we're done. There's no way.
Yeah,
because
I think it's the opposite, personally, and it may be that way too. I just think it's.
I don't think it's the.
Microsoft's attempt to grow. That's what I think. I feel like they probably, and we'll never know, I guess. But I mean, either way, and those people know more than I do, so I don't think they would have publicly announced it if they're not confident it's going to go through. So I'm sure it will.
I'm sure it will. That's one of those things, though, that they have to there's a lot of like legal stuff and signing and figuring this out and because it's an acquisition is what you're doing. So that takes, you got to like get everything together, make sure all parties are agreed with the money, like how much and the IP stuff, right? And then you got to get a letter of intent, and you got to send that saying we do intend to buy them, and then it's lawyers are involved. So this sale could take a little bit of time to go through. But as far as they're concerned, Microsoft owns these people right now because that's just what's in the press. So
I'll tell you what I've been hearing though, and I would love it if it happens, is Call of Duty not being an annual release anymore.
I would love that.
That'd be the best thing they can do.
Well, they need to do that. They've been needing to do that for a while. You think about it this way.
Because, you know, they added all those other studios to, like, help with the development time. And really, essentially, every game is more than an annual release. But people, I don't know. I feel like as much as everybody looks forward to that yearly release on the new Call of Duty, I kind of feel like it's just oversaturation, too.
Oh, it is. It's absolutely that. Because when you stop and think about that, you think, okay, so Sledgehammer, like, okay, so Black Ops 4 comes out. And the next game comes out next year. But that next game was in development for 2 or 3 years because they're just behind, and hey, this is going to take us for a year, and then it's just one after another. The thing about it is, even with that, they still have to do all the stuff they need to do to make it work and test it. So how much are you really changing in 11 months? I mean, really. Because Assassin's Creed, Ubisoft, after the abysmal and terribly sold Unity, which took 2 years of patches to fix, and Unity's like really good now, but that's now, you know. It's like it was so bad and so poorly received with refunds and everything. They said we're not going to do this annual stuff and they waited 2 years and brought out Origins and scrapped everything and changed the gameplay and changed to try to be more of an closer to, even though it already had RPG elements, they were trying to go more RPG, and Origins sold like crazy, and then Odyssey came out, and then Valhalla came out, and it's been like, that was like, after Origins, it was like 2.5 years, whatever, then as Odyssey came out, and they really refined it more, and then Valhalla came out, and it's kind of like, they got away from that, because they knew putting a new AC out every 10 to 11 months doesn't fly, because it's they were getting too similar, too much the same.
Effectively, Call of Duty at minimum would be 24-month cycle.
Yeah,
right? Because it's been Treyarch and Infinity Ward for a while, and then like
Sledgehammer.
Confusing. I know that they brought in Sledgehammer, but then like some of the releases was like Treyarch, but like Sledgehammer did this part.
Yeah, it was like one side did this and one side did that. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah.
So, I don't know. It gets confusing, but I feel like now what I do think it would do. So if they change it to where it's not an annual release, of course it would help out with the saturation part. But then you got to go into, you got to support that game for longer, so it could change the way Call of Duty. How it even operates. Really,
this is true.
You want to put out a good engine, but then you got to like maybe plan a little bit longer in your map production or whatever to support it until the next one comes out, if it's 3 or 4 years out.
Well, here's the thing I will say though, even if that changes and there's some good things that come out of like that series, what's not going to change is fucking microtransactions. So anybody thinks because Microsoft's publishing it's going to change, ain't going to change nothing. That is a cash cow into story, people. So don't expect like that to change. And besides, they're also getting, you know, like you said, they're getting, that'll be anything Activision has published, Blizzard has published. You're talking Diablo, you're talking all that stuff. Especially now, because of the pandemic, because of the walkout and the lawsuit, when they announced that Diablo 4 and Overwatch 2 was permanently delayed, like we have no idea when we can start working on this again. All these employees walked out. They actually said it was indefinitely delayed. That has not changed. And with
That may,
I think
though,
that
very well,
may
once that
now
settles.
once the stuff
Yeah.
goes through, but I find it interesting that again, like I agree with you that it is, I think partly Microsoft trying to shore up that end of their business for the future, but I also feel like Activision's got so much heat and so many fundamental problems on a variety of factors at their company, along with Blizzard, who's part of them. Um, I feel like that some of those people are probably like, I'm out of here, right? So it's like, sell it, don't care, whatever.
Yeah.
You
Now,
yeah,
I'm sure there's a lot of that really allowed that stance of, oh yeah, let's sell, even if Microsoft was the initial thing. And
yeah,
that's really how I think it goes. I feel like they probably seen that, and it's like looking for your prey, right? Like, oh,
yeah,
that's a good one to go after.
yeah. They're
And
hurt,
then
right? Yeah,
you give them a way out, you
yeah,
sweeten the deal for these people, you take it, and then like you're benefiting.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I feel like
Because
they probably took that first step.
and I get the worry because people were kind of, they were very upset when they were like, okay, so we bought Bethesda. It's not like they have like a plethora of stuff they do. And then they were like, well, Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be exclusive to Xbox and PC. You're never going to play it on any Sony
Starfield.
hardware, and Starfield, and more than likely anything else that they're doing.
Tell you
So,
what, though, man, like, Bethesda,
or even or a new Fallout.
stocked up
Yeah.
on stuff before that acquisition. Like,
Yeah.
they put out a lot of solid franchises now.
Yeah.
I mean, like as a publisher.
Yeah, I
'Cause,
mean they did
Doom,
Wolfenstein and Doom and
Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
There's that. I'm not really big on them, but the Dishonored series.
Oh, they're good. They're very
Um,
good.
Yeah, I heard they're great. They got Prey. They got like so many good franchise. Rage. That's
Yeah,
another one.
Rage was great. Rage 1, Rage 2, Rage 2 is great. I
Fallout.
feel
Like,
yeah.
there's a lot that they got with that deal.
So I feel like that. I think people the Activision Blizzard thing. The worry was, well, Microsoft's just going to make everything to them, and then what's the point of me playing with Sony anymore? And that's why I think Mr. Spencer came on and was like, we're going to honor all contractual obligations with Sony. We're not going to put COD. We're not going to just say the COD player base, screw you. He was very
It's very short-sighted to feel
yeah,
that way, I think.
yeah. Because if they were to do all of that, and trying to then you just get into a pissing war, and you don't want that. And then you got
And
people.
they totally could. And
They
like
could,
Microsoft
yeah.
has way more money than Sony. So like,
Yeah.
whatever, sue them, whatever. It's
Yeah.
fine. Like,
Well,
it would totally be fine. But it just don't make sense in long
No,
run.
it-
That's
it
the
doesn't.
thing. Like that's the short game. And Microsoft, I don't feel is playing the short game.
And again, I think
long game.
going back to the Bethesda purchase, it's kind of like I was disappointed to hear about the Scrolls because I've been playing Scrolls for a long time. So I was like, well, that kind of blows, because if they're never going to allow it, and I'm kind of on the Sony camp, it just makes me go, well, shit. Now I got to think about. I guess I'll just buy an Xbox One, and they're cheap, and then hopefully it'll come on that or whatever. But the point is
if you were going to do that, I would just do like an S.
yeah. Yeah,
Which
but-
is the discless one.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
just
yeah.
Do, Game Pass or whatever, or get it.
Yeah.
It's a cheap buy-in.
Yeah, but I think it sucks because it just makes me go, well, I get it. Fallout might become exclusive, whatever they decide to do, right? So, but I will say this though, it's I can play Obsidian's Outer Worlds, so it's which is
Yeah.
which is a fantastic game. But I feel like
Now,
that.
is there anything? Do you have anything on your wish list that would come out of this acquisition?
You know what? Them talking about some of the older titles being put out and bringing some of that back, and some of that could filter over to Sony. Some of that stuff, that they had put out, and I'm not necessarily mean like Guitar Hero, but like there are some Activision published games out there that'd be like really nice to see. If it depends on how far
There were
back
so
they go.
many, remember
Depends on
all those like really good Spider-Man games? They were all
Yeah,
published by
they were
Activision,
good.
right?
They were good. Even Web of Shadows, which a lot of people don't like. That was a great one. I liked Web of Shadows, And there's some good they could do a Spider-Man collection, right? That would be cool. Or how about Metal Arms glitching the
And they
system?
could
Or
totally
how
work out
about
a deal with Sony because of that whole Spider-Man thing.
yeah,
And who knows, like, what kind of mutual stuff that
yeah,
could bring, right?
yeah?
Like,
And
maybe you get a
Activision,
port of Marvel Spider-Man on Xbox.
or
If
how about
Xbox
remastering?
plays nice and lets you
Yeah,
have all these old collections on your place. You know, like there's
yeah.
totally some deals
They
there
should
that can make.
they should remaster Gun. Gun was excellent and predates Red Dead as an open world Western
Yeah,
game,
it
and that
really
was a,
cool.
and I actually got that recently for my GameCube, which is great. And but there is some good stuff there. I would like to see because I mean I own a lot of the Activision published titles, you know, from your from Prototype 1 and 2, and they have that acquisition, and outside the Blizzard stuff too. It's like that acquisition will give them access to hundreds of games in a history library. Not all good, obviously, but there's a lot of good there. So I think it's important to like for Game Pass owners and Microsoft, it's a win for them. For Sony players who are concerned about the franchises, first of all, if COD went exclusive, I wouldn't care because I don't really play it anymore. I don't have any desire to play it. New one comes out, I'm like, me. You know, last one I bought was Black Ops 4. Didn't like it. Got burned on it, and I was like, I don't like this. This is shit. And I have had no desire to play it. So I don't. COD is not a concern for me. I think other games like Overwatch, again, I own it. Do I play it? No, it's not even installed on my system. It's just my early experience with that game was people just yelling at me for, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I've never played this game before. You fucking people were just being dicks, and I've been kicked from games because I wasn't doing well or whatever. And I'm like, well, this is stupid because it's like you got to get that game's got a learning curve for its simplicity. So I was like, I'm done with this, and I don't play it. I just don't care to play it, and it takes forever to get into matches. Like you have to queue in, and just because so many people's playing it, it can take 2-3 minutes to even play, and it sucks. And so I don't really care about that one. So outside of Diablo, I mean, I have Diablo 2 Resurrection, I have Diablo 3, and the subsequent expansions. So if 4 ends up on the consoles, because it is so far away, I'm like, that's going to be on the newer consoles, not the older ones. I doubt 4 will end up on the PS4 at this point or anything else. So it'll be on the 5 and the later systems. So again, it's stuff that I could probably maybe get down the road. But a lot of that stuff, I think for me, the acquisition to me, not just the game side thing, it's just I would like to see them go in and fix those internal problems that's going on, because that needs to happen, because if they don't, you're just going to have another mess on your hands. And you know, that's you don't need, Microsoft doesn't need to have to deal with all that. And if they can fix that, improve some of those people's lives that work for that company, and get people back in the fold and take care of people and get rid of the problems, I think that would be really good. And that's what I'm most like looking at. Not, I mean, even though the games, you know, as a gamer, yeah, it affects me, but from a you know, treat your people well situation, I'm looking more on that side of things than I am the game side of things. As crazy as that may sound, I'm not so concerned about Overwatch or Call of Duty or blah 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 blah.
Yeah, because it's a really weird acquisition in a way, because there's a lot of those games that like IPs that they have that people don't really care that much about. Like, and not that they don't have followings, but like you say, like what's really going to impact you? It's very minimal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I guess, you know, for me, so again, I have an Xbox and whatever. Like, I would benefit. Really, it doesn't matter. Like, as far as maybe console ports or something that wouldn't happen before, or a new IP, you know, or an old IP being revitalized or whatever, that'd be cool. But
yeah,
I think what most excites me though is this move showing that that Bethesda deal is not a one-time thing, and Microsoft, it's like starting to flex muscle now.
Yeah.
Right? Which is good for everybody because, for one, okay, at the very least, it's going to breed that competition, right? Because I don't care what anybody says, but PS4 kicked Xbox One's ass in the console war. Like, there was no comparison.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, Xbox dropped the ball with the Xbox One. There was good games, but very few.
Yeah, it took a while for its library to get shored up.
Like, they just made lots of poor choices, right? And it was, and that's, admittedly, Phil Spencer said that too. Like, they were at a point to where, okay, we either gotta give it up and just become, PC focused or whatever, not do console games, or we just go all in and really start pouring a ton of money into it. And that's what they did, and they made a really good system. They're making smart choices. They're doing a lot of this stuff, and it's going to cause Sony now to step up their game because they're going to have to.
Well, what would be good? Yeah, what's going to be the big deal is it also caused Sony to probably say, okay, well, you got Activision, and Sony's a wealthy company. They might say, well, we're going to buy Capcom because it's Japanese anyway, or we're going to buy.
Yeah.
They could easily turn around and do that because not like Capcom is like making like that much money anymore like they used to. But the point is
What's
they
that
could.
Other one that's been rumored for a while. Warner Brothers.
Yeah. So if you if you look into either Sony will fight fire with fire and say, well, we're going to buy this company, or if they don't do that, what they'll do is they'll find other companies that are looking to with really neat game ideas and new IPs that's going to make people go, man, I want that. So they're going to go to those and try to get exclusivity and things like that. They had to do something. But it's interesting, though, and it's very telling that just because of that acquisition, Sony lost money, like right off the bat.
Yeah, their stock has dropped.
Yeah, it's like it's so insane when it's just because of that. But I will give, it will breed that competition. It's going to be like the old Monday Night Wars, WWE, WWF, WCW.
I think minimally it's going to do that. But I really think, and what I would like to see over that is it's so like old school short-term thinking, like I said, right? Like you buy a company, you make it exclusive. We have exclusives. Now, there always will be, right? Like even like Netflix, right? You look at that model, and they're successful because they got a lot of movies, but a lot of those movies are on Amazon Plus, or Amazon Prime Video. They're on Hulu, they're on whatever. But nobody gets Netflix for those, really. They get Netflix for the Netflix originals.
Yeah.
So, if you implement a Game Pass for the future, you're going to have games that are draws for that, and that's the only place you can get them is there.
That's true.
However, if you're also moving into this thing and you got the premium answer, the first one out there, the streaming service, you're also, if you're Sony, you kind of want to get in that too. Right?
Yeah.
So you got potential for unprecedented deals with
studios. And they're working on that.
Sony and Marvel work together.
Yeah.
Right? And like Microsoft already plays really well with Nintendo now.
Yes.
And like I would love to start seeing crossovers there.
Yes.
Like Microsoft stuff doing cloud versions on Switch, or I don't know that we would ever see a Mario or first party thing.
Probably not.
Maybe they could do something.
I don't know if they would ever see that, just because those things are very and Nintendo's got a lot of mascots. I mean they own Sonic, so it's kind of like it's one of those things where you might not see that stuff, but I think there's going to be some benefits, obviously, and touching base on all that going around, just to saying, like you said, for me, I looked at like, what does the acquisition mean for me as a gamer? How much is that going to affect me? And it's a very minimum impact to me. Other people, it might, and they might say, well, that's bullshit. Now I feel forced to buy another console, which could be a conversation that came up at the table there with Phil Spencer. Well, if we do this, people are going to buy our console. So it's like, I mean, that couldn't have been
totally true.
Yeah.
Because I've seen that on the wall from the beginning. As soon, I started hearing that talk about that Bethesda stuff, and this is the first generation I had both systems because of that. Because I've seen it coming.
Yeah. You seen it coming? Yeah, you seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It worked for sure.
Yeah, and I think for me it's kind of like, I guess for me it was kind of like, I've got a Blue Million Systems, right? I got a Switch, I have a PS4, I have a 360, I've got a Wii U, I've got a GameCube, and Desiree's got a Wii, she's got a PS2. Original Xbox. It's just there's a lot of systems going around, but the ones that I play the most, like probably PS4 the most, Switch second, and the Wii U here and there, and the other ones not so much. But it's one of those things where I'm going like, I don't want to get something just because I can't play Elder Scrolls, right? And if that and when I bought the Switch, or when she got the Switch for me for my birthday, I mean, I didn't buy it, she bought it. The thing that I would, because people were like, how come you haven't gotten a Switch? It's like, because there's only really one game I want to play on it, and that's Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. And I'm not going to drop $300 for Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, right? Just not. I've got the original 2 on PS4, and those were Activision games too, by the way. So you look at, and then when I got a Switch,
brought over now, maybe.
yeah. When I bought a Switch, I think they were already on Xbox too. I think it was just all the way around. But when she got me that Switch, and I went on the storefront for the first time, I was like, man, they have like a lot of the library that the Xbox and PS4 already have. But it also had like a bunch of stuff I had never seen or heard. It was like having a little Steam machine. So I was like, yes, and there's a lot of stuff on there that, so, and then I started realizing, I'm like, oh, cool, Elder Scrolls Blades, and they don't have that microtransaction egregiousness that's in this is like a really good game. And I just started seeing games on there that I was like, that's cool, I've never seen that before. That's not on PS4, that's not on. And some of the Switch versions were better than some of. So I realized that, it was great because I had the handheld portion of it, walk anywhere with it, play whatever, and so I love the Switch. But like I was saying, it's kind of like getting another system just for one game. I just don't want to. And I mean, it doesn't matter if Elder Scrolls 6 ends up being the awesomest of the awesome. It won't, because it's Bethesda, right? 16 times the detail. Shut up. You're still using the creation engine. I don't want to hear it. But it's kind of like, I just don't. It's kind of like, I can play Elder Scrolls Online. I can play Skyrim.
Before long, you're going to get into, it's not just that, it's Elder Scroll, potentially, right? That's
yeah.
the thing. But, it's potentially that, it's Starfield, it's Doom, it's Diablo.
That could, yes, that's true.
It could pile up on you before you know it.
This is true, but I'm going to take a more wait-and-see approach because if I do anything, it'll probably be a digital version, but I'm taking a wait-and-see approach, because right now, it's kind of like the PS5. It's like, really want a PS5? What do you want PS5 for? Well, Returnal looking pretty badass, and Ratchet & Clank's looking pretty badass, but that Godfall looking really badass. It's like, I kind of really want to play that one. But I was like, but again, and then I was like, oh, Godfall came out on PS4. I'm good. So it's kind of like...
Yeah, there's very few PS5 exclusives. One of the biggest ones probably Demon's Souls still.
And Returnal. Returnal was exclusive to them.
Yeah.
And that game got very good reviews.
A game of... yeah, it does, but it looks like endless frustration. I don't ever want to play it, I don't think.
It's a Housemarque game, so it's got some difficulty and some stuff that, you want to put the controller down, but then you get better because it's a roguelike, and then you start learning the patterns. It's because it gets that bullet hell thing, so you're like, people say like the story and everything about it's like really amazing. But I know that it has like difficulty spikes here and there, and you're just like, fuck, but it does look great. Maybe get it on deep D cell.
About the systems though too, and like so the potential Elder Scrolls and Doom and Starfield and all that stuff, that acquisition, that was one of the major sparks for getting an Xbox. However, I also got it because because of the backwards compatibility. And I had a 360, but I did not have an Xbox One.
Yeah.
But it plays, select titles, of course, but all the way back to the original Xbox. And,
Which is cool.
Upscales everything, and I could hook up those old systems, but in the days now of I got a PS5, I got a Switch, I don't want a 360 and an Xbox and a whatever plugged it, like
yeah
shit.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot going on. You need all kinds of
so I got
ports
the
and
Series
HDMI.
X and with the disc version, so the box of old Xbox games I got sitting in there, I can put those in and play an upscaled version of it, and I can dive into the Halos that I missed, or the Gears that I missed, or I couldn't play State of Decay 2 before. The Forza games, which are amazing. That was it's probably the best exclusive I've played so far.
Yeah.
Other than Halo. So, like, because of my situation, the benefits were a little more than just for a couple games. But it's definitely a lot of that too.
Yeah. And like I said, for me, it was more of the exclusive stuff. I can appreciate, but it's stuff like, when I got a PS4, it's like, it's nice to be like, Sony's always catered to the Asian market games. Not that you can't get them on Xbox, but the fact is that, I'm a big anime guy. I like a lot of animes. A lot of those games are on Sony, like, right off the bat, because it's just the nature of where they do business. And
or only Sony, or at least, at the very least, like Sony and Switch or something.
Yeah, and then you get into, again, my beloved Dynasty Warriors series, and it's kind of like that every one of those games, all of them, like my 360, I was able to get, Dynasty Warriors, Warriors of Orochi 3, and I got Warriors of Orochi 1, 2. I was able to get a lot. When I jumped over to Sony, I was like, man, there's a lot, so on that genre. And I have, everything from Berserk and the Band of the Hawk to Blade Storm to there's a digital only Dynasty Warriors that was never released in it's Dynasty Warriors God Seekers, and that's a Sony thing, and it's like, well, wow, that's neat. And then you've got, which is like a weird like strategy version of Dynasty Warriors, but it's cool. And they got so much, and it's like, I just was very happy about that, because I've got a plethora of anime games. I've got a plethora of the Warriors games. So again, the exclusives are nice, and maybe at some point, as the library grows, and down the road, and what choices are made with the Activision buyout, I'll weigh that decision, and I'll take, and when the systems become either more readily available, or if I just say screw it, I'll just get an Xbox One, or I'll just wait, like you said, get the S that's digital, which is probably what I would lean towards. That's the thing. It's like, but I can't justify a purchase right now, even based off that acquisition, based on, because nothing's set in stone right now, and I don't also
exclusive is Elder Scrolls.
Exactly. So I don't want to like jump the gun, and I also don't want to get it and be like, well, here's another. Because one of the things that I've learned owning the Switch and finding out a lot of the PS4 titles were in there. When I took with my beautiful fiance and her family, we went to Rochester, New York for a week. To see Aunt Shannon and whatnot. I had my Switch, and I was like, I ended up getting some games on sale, and they were games I also had on the PS4. God of War 3, Dragon's Dogma, and I'm like, not because I needed both of them. I did it because they were cheap on sale, because Switch has put 2,000 games on sale. It's ridiculous.
You get the portable version.
And I get the portable version, so I can just play it on the fly. That was great. So Titan Quest, things like that. So I have those because I'm like, that's great. That's a great portability. But I also, like I said, I have a lot of titles that are only on the Switch. You can go get them nowhere else, maybe Steam, but it's cool to be able to have that function too. But I think, right now from me wanting to do an Xbox thing, besides the compatibility, it's just, again, I can't warrant a purchase based on what might be. I've got to see what ends up on that library ultimately in the next year maybe, and then I'll go, okay, I'll drop the money now because, right? Or if I see like Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield, like, I really got to play those, right? Because Starfield is a while out, so.
Speaking of like, like those situations though, like buying games multiple times, it's funny because, really because I also own the Switch too. So like I got the whole generation right now. And it's funny because like situations that come up because of that. Like I have Crash Bandicoot on PlayStation and Switch because it's a fun game to pick up and play.
Yeah.
That remastered collection they did, which is also hilarious, by the way, that the unofficial Sony mascot years ago is now owned by Microsoft.
Yeah, it's owned by Microsoft. Yeah, it's weird.
But situations like that, or I don't know, you just get a certain level of freedom too, right? Like, because a lot of those anime games you're talking about, they'll be like the uncensored ones on the Switch of all things.
Yeah, they don't censor anything.
Where Sony censors it,
And Sony used to not censor, and now they heavily censor. Well, and the thing about that too is, me and Richards talked about it, was Sony didn't censor at first, and then the last few years decided to because of the amount of consoles that were in the homes. They realized the potential for kids seeing things is much higher than it was than our first and second and third year, right?
Yeah.
So
which is supposed to be what the rating system's for, by the way.
Yeah, but they don't. It's one of those oddball things.
The
yeah,
parent enforced side of it, but
yeah, and then
still,
like where Nintendo, which was always about censorship, was like, yeah, fuck it, we don't care anymore. They just stopped caring. They just do not care. And I'm like, that's bizarre, because there's some questionable things on the Switch, but I look at it like, from a console perspective, it's great because, I'm a big, Monster Hunter guy, and that's a Capcom thing, and I know I don't have any concern. That company's they're gonna continue to put those games out on the various systems. Monster Hunter Rise is on the Switch, exclusive to the Switch. Like Monster Hunter, Monster Hunter Quest 2's on there, and Monster Hunter World. I've got a variety of different things, and so a lot of the genres that I play and like, I don't really need to get an Xbox right now.
Yeah.
But the thing that really pains me, what's going to really be what's really going to be the linchpin for me buying a new Xbox, like let's say just a digital one, right? What's going to be the linchpin for me is not Starfield, and not Elder Scrolls 6, and not whatever else they decide to do on the game system, right? What's going to get me is when they put out that damn Warhammer game, where it's exclusive to Microsoft right now, and it's based
on. Is that not out already?
I don't think it's out, but it's it's made by the people who made Vermintide 2, so it's basically Warhammer. It's Warhammer 40K, but it's Left 4 Dead, and I'm like, motherfucker, So it's going to be the one game that
if they
that would be interesting. I don't know. If anybody scooped up Sega, well, Nintendo kind of has, sort of. But if Sega gets scooped up, then Sony and Nintendo in particular will be hurting, because they do a lot with them, right? So, I don't know.
Microsoft and Nintendo play nice, though.
Yeah, they do. So you never know.
It might not affect anything.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, like, I don't think that's why Nintendo's successful, though, is because I don't think anybody really sees them as competition, because
they're not
trying to be. They're doing their own thing.
Yeah.
And there are people that have it, because I know them, but almost nobody gets just a Switch as their primary console. Like it's the one that people want to get along with whatever side.
Yeah, it's a good
right?
it's a good like
Awesome
add-on.
secondary system because
Yeah.
it's a portable one. You can play Mario. You can get all of that. But like then, if you really want to play like the best like movie theater experience stuff, you want Xbox or PlayStation.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so like it's the perfect. They're in the perfect situation.
Yeah, Nintendo decided at some point we didn't get out of the console game. We're just not going to compete with anybody, and they just stopped. And the funny thing is Nintendo, started the Move control stuff, which is why PlayStation had the Move controllers and Microsoft had the Kinect for a while. Nintendo has always, to me,
They're the innovators.
they are. They're the ones that came out. Even playing the Wii U, you're like, this was what the Switch ultimately became. And while Wii U could be looked at as a failure, it was a win for them because it let them learn what they had to do next, which was the Switch, which was a die-hard success for them. And that became a big deal, especially when they were like launch titles, a Mario game, Zelda Breath of the Wild, like all the main things that they're known for. So, I still play my Wii U because it's still a great system and an underrated system in my opinion. And the Switch and Nintendo doing their own thing has really benefited them because they're just like, let them two duke it out, and we're going to do this thing on the side, and end up selling like 15, however many millions of consoles because people wanted it and people love it, and then come out with a better version, the OLED, kind of underneath people's noses, and it's kind of like they're doing their own thing. It's working for them. I think they're going to continue to do that. And just be like, no censorship. Hey, you want to put a game on our system? By all means, we don't care. I mean, like before, it was like they were all weird about like,
awesome.
oh, you can, yeah.
And
So
I love these blockbuster experiences. I love these solid narratives and stuff. But like, fuck, I love Mario. Like, I don't care how many years go by. I love just playing a 2D Mario game. Like, it's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, and I think the only thing they screwed up on their system is the way too pricey Nintendo Switch Online upgrade for like $50. It's like, so I can play some N64 games and some Sega Genesis games. I'm like, well, great. Or I can just for $10 buy a Sega Genesis Classics for PS4 and get 50 games. So, but no,
But,
that was probably the only
people
thing.
that are doing it though, and happy about it, and love every 64 game that comes out. And, whatever. They're doing their thing. They're using their catalog. So, they'll figure it out. And if not enough people want to pay for it, because they're kind of like, in a way, it's like Apple, right? Like, if you want Nintendo, you got to do it the Nintendo way.
Yeah.
Very much how Apple does. And I don't know. It's fine,
but,
I guess.
But to kind of wrap up this acquisition and this table talk, I'll leave you with my final thoughts is it's like, it's what's best for business for Microsoft all the way around, to kind of quote, Triple H, Paul Levesque. It's kind of like it's what's best for business for them. They're looking towards, like you, like your future, right? Like, I know it's kind of a reference, but it's like they're looking towards what they need to be a powerhouse in the gaming world in the future. Maybe not tomorrow, but 2 years down the road, 5 years. And for them, that's important, and possibly and potentially clean up some of the internal problems that's going on over at Activision Blizzard. Like, you guys got to go. But on the flip side of that is, I get big time Sony people, because like I love my PS4, but I'm not like, I don't really side with either camp, and it's kind of but Sony, I get why some gamers are like freaked out, because they're like, oh shit, what if I can't, if I just bought this PS5 for $600, and some of these games I won't be able to play. Does that mean I got to go out and buy? And that's a lot of money to drop $5 or whatever it costs.
But you know what? Like, that's the thing. There's a lot of new people who this is their first time experiencing that, but like, it's always been that way.
It kind of has,
right?
yeah.
These systems have always been pricey. There's always been a side to jump on, and there's always been exclusives. So this is really nothing new. And if you're panicking, it's just because I don't know.
You're,
I mean, I get it, and I'm more chill about it. Like I said before,
yeah.
selfishly because I have them all. I don't care what they do.
Yeah.
But I'm just sitting back and watching. But and like I've panicked when that stuff happens, and I was a singular system owner and stuff. But
Yeah.
like it's just nothing new. That's just how it's been. And
Well.
as time goes on and the industry changes, you're
Yeah.
going to see these titans swallow these small
Yeah.
companies.
Well, and it's funny because like you went through this before a number of years ago, not games, but you had HD and you had Blu-ray. You had an HD player and a Blu-ray player because you were like,
Yeah.
and then HD got bought out by Sony, Blu-ray stuff or whatever, because they invented that shit. So it's kind of like you were like, well, fuck, I guess I have my Blu-ray and buy those. But you had them both because that's kind of the way it goes. So it's nothing new to you. It's really nothing new to me because I'm just like, well, whatever. Because if all that stuff became exclusive tomorrow, a lot of that I wouldn't care about, and I'd still be able to play all the games I've already previously bought, and there's always going to be games that come out that I still want that's not made by Activision or Blizzard. So it's like, or published. That's the thing. Yeah. To me, it's like, it's not going to be such a big deal. I get why it's a big deal, because it came out of left field, but like I said, it's kind of like, I'm happy for Microsoft in all honesty, because it's going to help them in the long run down the road, and it's going to help make that competition between the both parties, even though they work together somehow, so according to Phil, we have a good working relationship, like, okay, but they don't want to ruffle feathers, like they don't want to be like Sony and go to lawsuits and shit, but it's nice. But at the same time, the other side of me is like, you know what, it's both like, holy shit that happened, but then I'm kind of like, well, you know what, it just, like you'd pointed out, it kind of doesn't affect me as a gamer. It's very minimal as an impact. So, because I've got 600 games I can play. I've got a number of Activision titles. There's so
many games out there that you can play, and that completionist attitude of having and playing everything.
Yeah.
Which gets the better of me sometimes. But
yeah, I mean, it's kind of like
totally, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens for sure.
Yeah.
Now, so I got the perfect segue out of this as we're kind of wrapping through what we wanted to cover today. But real quick, talking about another one of those things.
real quick.
A funny thing I did. So, we talked about this. My more immediate to-dos is sleeping dogs, right?
Yes.
So I have that definitive thing on.
I own it too. Yeah, I own the definitive.
On PlayStation, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's on PS4, but PS5 though.
It is. It's on PS4.
Sometimes. No. I know this, but this issue though.
Oh.
Playing on the PS5 at least. I don't know if you get this on PS4. There apparently is a little bit of an issue about loading in the game sometimes.
Yeah, I've never experienced
that. Or it gets stuck and it kicks you out and it doesn't want to load. And it did it to me like 4 or 5 times.
No, I've never experienced that with that before.
So I looked it up and I heard other people complaining about it. And maybe it's just for PS5, but they were like, well, if you want to get in and you do your save file, do like continue or like load a game spot instead of like continue or something stupid like that. So I just happened to see that Sleeping Dogs was on sale on Xbox for like $5, so I just got it on it in case I had more problems.
Yeah, and then you switch over.
So I was like, oh, that's
I've never experienced that on PS4. I had the original version, non-definitive edition, on 360. So it's funny that I actually have that digitally on that, but then I have the definitive on that, and but I've never really experienced that problem. Like, just not really. No, I've never actually had that happen. But I know.
It definitely did happen to me. Yeah. But it may just be PS5.
Yeah. But no, it's like I said. It's your side of things. Having both systems, you're just like, whatever. It don't really affect you because you'll get whatever you need. And for me, it's like, I'm kind of like, whatever. I'm like, I don't really. I'm just kind of like, I don't, a lot of those games that are on there, I don't even play. So it's kind of like, it's a more of a minimum impact. I'm just happy that when about 2 weeks I'll be able to play Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires. So that's what
I've seen that on the pre-order page.
Oh, I love it. I didn't know when. I was assuming it was going to come out in March because Dynasty Warriors 9, usually they're not annual releases, but they're usually March, April, or February, 1 to 3 months. And I think 9 came out in March, I think, if memory serves. But I saw that, and I'm excited for it because of the whole. Because those are the games. That game lets you make your own character from scratch, and but this uses the Neo 2 character creator, and Neo 2, Japanese kind of Dark Souls like game, has an outstanding creative player. I mean, outstanding. It's up there with your Dragon Age 3, or not 3, Dragon Age 3, and it's up there with like your Code Veins and stuff like that. You can just do a lot with the creative player, and they're doing a layered system of, you can put clothes on, then you can put armor on, and for the first time, instead of just giving you a bunch of different colors to choose from, they'll actually let you do a palette wheel and let you pick what color you want and adjust the brightness and all that stuff. They've never done that before, even though the other games do have fairly good creative player. This one is like way good. So it's like, wow. I said they're using Neo 2s because Team Ninja and Omega Force made that game. So they're just like, hey, we're just going to use the engine. They're like, fine. So I'm really stoked about that one, and I will be doing definitely some videos on that. But yeah, that's probably the one game that's coming outside of Dying Light 2. That I'm really looking forward to.
It's interesting. It looks like it's going to be ginormous. And you had asked me what am I looking forward to last time, and I said nothing really. I tell you what though, I just happened, and I haven't even paid attention to it like up until now for whatever reason, and I don't know what happened, I guess, but it just caught me the right way. But I seen some stupid video about the new Horizon Zero Dawn sequel.
Forbidden West, yeah.
Whatever it is. And it was like showing this underwater scene. It was like, damn, it looks so good. Like, showing underwater gameplay and stuff. And
yeah, I mean, that game has always looked phenomenal.
I have that original one. I haven't actually beat it, so it just got me to install it. And I was like, maybe I'll pick that one. Yeah. I mean, that one is looking, because the first one's really good and graphically is phenomenal. But like, yeah, the first one's great. I've gotten it at for Desiree, my fiance. She owns it, and that's an excellent game. And that's made by the same people who made on the PlayStation, which is exclusive, which was what's the game called? The Shadowfall game, the first person. I can't even think of the name of the daggone, what the actual name of the game is. But anyway, they made that, and they're a great job. They've done a great job on that. And so yeah, that's the second one that's coming out, a sequel. I mean, the first one came out a while back, so it's nice to see them doing another one. And the first game, to me, I really liked the first game. It had elements of Monster Hunter, elements of Far Cry, elements of different games that I liked, the open world, Eloy, and just the story and everything else. It was really good. So but it's not my immediate game I'm just gonna go right out and buy. Like I said, outside of Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires, it's like that's February, and I'm like, that's the one I want more than anything. Period. Right.
And real quick, we didn't talk about this, but if you get a chance, look up this gameplay, people. John, look this up. Look up Chernobyl Light. Chernobyl Light is awesome. It's an awesome game. Yeah. It is a first-person shooter. It takes place in Chernobyl, like 30 years after the accident. It's a hub-based open world, and you have different people that you gather, like as far as your people that are at your base. You send them out on missions by themselves. They just figure it out. You get back. This random chance that they fail or succeed. You have to build your base up, kind of like Fallout 4 does, and make sure the people's morale is good and they're fed, and the first person elements and stealth elements, it's fantastic. I mean, it is fantastic. It looks beautiful. It's It's voice acted well. It's a Russian stuff. You can listen. You know how it gives you that Russian and English voice options if you want. But man, for a first-person hub-based kind of thing, it has elements of like Metro, the Metro series, and it's just, man, it's kind of like Metro meets Fallout meets.
It does look really, really cool.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's a fantastic game. Fantastic. It was on sale, but even for the full price, it's fantastic. It is so good. It's so good. And it's one of those indie titles. It's like, wow.
Kind of unrelated, but kind of the same thing. Because we're talking about upcoming titles and stuff. Pet peeve of mine, by the way, is coming soon, but there's no release date.
Yeah.
Drives me fucking nuts. Like,
You
know, like, I mean, technically, like, I'm looking forward to, like, God of War Ragnarok. Like, Ghostwire looks really cool.
Yeah.
You know, I'll even play that Hogwarts Legacy thing if it ever comes out.
That looks great.
Gotham Knights.
Yeah,
like,
Gotham.
There's so many of these things, and they're all under coming soon, but, like, they don't have release dates.
Yeah.
You know, it might not even be this year, some of those.
Yeah, no, and it's a lot of that's probably pandemic, and they're not sure. They don't want to give a definitive release date, but give us at least something like a target release date. Give us like targeted. Just give us a month.
What's the point in that when it probably just get delayed?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, because that Gotham Knights looks really good. That's one I would like to get my hands into, because I think it's. People are like, is it going to be like the Marvel Avengers game? They're like, no, it's single player. It's going to be different, and that it does look really sweet. And I'm like, I like the Arkham games, so I'm proud to get into that one. But no, I just wanted to throw Chernobylite out there. When I play a little bit more of it, I am going to do a video on it, so you'll have to check that out when I do, because that game is so much better than it has any right to be, and it's really cool. It's cool concept and really well done, and hats off to that studio, because again, that's the thing that I love outside of these big companies, man. Indie is just so good. There's so much good out there now. It's amazing to see these small companies and what they're doing. It's like, man, these are the next Activisions and Blizzards and EAs. I mean, these are the companies that could potentially like blow up and get really big. It's
they were all small companies back in the day.
Yeah, so it's nice. Yeah, exactly. They started somewhere.
Forever, it seems like.
Yeah, they kind of have been. Yeah, but no, like I said, I just, that's just a game I'm going to do a video on, and I still need to do a video on the Aliens Fire Team, because that game is so much fun. That's a great game. So there is some stuff I'm going to be definitely doing in the pipeline here for the videos, and definitely check those out. And people, please check that out. John, are you going to do any real quick here? Are you going to do any like plays or anything coming up on the channel, on your side of the channel?
Yeah, I just don't know what. I was going to stream Judgment, and then I decided to just check it out. I don't know. I'll be doing something for sure. There's
Awesome.
still a lot of things that I want to kind of continue to check out. I got a bunch of weird titles that I want to see what they're about or never played, so I'll definitely be streaming something.
Awesome.
Now, okay, so winding down though, I want to make sure we get on this real quick as well. But we talked about this before. So something we'd like to start doing is basically presenting a type of question every time.
Yes.
Every time we do these.
Yes.
So, so our rules basically are, we don't know what this question is. We haven't rehearsed our answers. It's going to be not really a so serious thing, but kind of a spur in the moment response. So whatever we just kind of pose, whether it's a quick top 5 or a favorite or a least favorite or something. So I want to make sure we hit that this time before we end. So
yeah.
My question for you, or for us rather, I guess, that I came up with, we were talking about these systems and stuff. Favorite system of all time is for you?
Oh man, jeez, that's a tough one, because you got to look at the. Oh man, you know what? As it. Oh man, that's tough. I absolutely. loved my 360. You know, and I absolutely loved the original Xbox and my GameCube. You know, back in the day, I used to have 60 titles for it. I had a lot, right? Um, love, 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 love the N64 to death. That's a great system. Some of the best wrestling games and everything. But if I had to really pick, you know, a favorite system ever, all time, I'd, you know, I want to say N64, but I am really leaning on the Super NES, only because that at the time was revolutionary by adding 4 more buttons, but some of the best games came out on the Super NES. Some of the best. The Mario games were great. Star Wars games were great. I had a lot of titles. Shadowrun, amazing. Just the Final Fantasies. Like, it introduced me to a lot of games. You know, you even got Killer Instinct and Mortal Kombat's. Like, you had, you know, if you wanted fighting games, it was a perfect system for it. If you wanted, you know, role-play games, there's a blue million of them. If you wanted, you know, just some shooters like Contra, good God, there's a bunch of them. If you wanted, you know, the Star Fox stuff, you know, with the polygons and stuff and some 3D, you know, racing games, it just literally to me is a system the first system that added the top L and R buttons. That's now a staple for every single system, right? It added the 4-button, you know, A, B, X, Y thing or whatever, and that 4-button configuration is basically used by everybody. Again, Nintendo, the innovators that they were. It just had so much good on it, and not a lot of bad. And it was was an awesome system that introduced me to a lot of stuff that kind of shaped when I got the N64. Which again, but I'm going to tell you, the N64 is a close second. And even though I did eventually get a DualShock PlayStation, and I loved a lot of the games on there, I still love my 64 more. And like I said, the Super NES to me is my favorite system ever, just because of all the different types and genres you could play. And I mean, and I had a bunch of games, and just, you know, I could play Wing Commander. I could play, you know, a 24 strategy game. I could play just so much on it, right? And I had Mortal Kombat 3, I had Mortal Kombat 2, I had Killer Instinct, I had, you know, it just had so much on it.
For me, that's my exact thing after too, because it's hands down Super Nintendo. And like, it doesn't take away from these other systems, because they're great. Like, the things that Xbox did, the things PlayStation did, like the PS4 is such a solid system because of its still growing catalog. And like, you know, in some of these newer systems, you know, they revisit those old titles. Like Switch, you know, you could kind of just say the Switch because
you can play Super NES on
play
it.
Almost all, but
just about, not like everything, but yeah.
Yeah, but like for me though, like that Super Nintendo, just the system alone, like it was, I don't know, man, it was a milestone for so many things, and the catalog was so vast, and it's a little bit of nostalgia. You know, it was one of the first systems to do stereo.
Well, I remember stories about you were younger and playing Mortal Kombat 2, and you just wouldn't eat. You'd eat like a brownie all day, and that was it, because you were just like Mortal Kombat. But you know, that's what I mean. But that was the thing about that system for me. It really, like, you know, I had the Wing Commanders on there, the secret missions and otherwise, and that kind of made me fall in love with like the space kind of genre and this interacting with the pilots. And then after that, I found myself, I guess, like N64 comes out, PlayStation comes out, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to get the Wing Commanders with the full motion video, the 3 and 4. But then it was like, that made me fall in love with that genre, and I still play that type of game today. Rebel Galaxy Outlaw, Elite Dangerous.
Yeah,
you know,
because you get that now, and you're like, man, it's like Wing Commander.
yeah, and that even
I know.
Star Wars Squadrons, which is very Wing Commander-ish, and that was given away for free recently. So
Wing
that's
Commander's
just
still my favorite space
yeah,
opera game.
yes. It's the thing that I love about even on 360. What was the game? Dark Star One, Broken Alliance. It was like
Yeah.
there's that genre is kind of made a comeback. But what I love about the Super NES was so many of those games I had never experienced before. Years
And
later,
you know that Mode
30,
7 and the
30 years later,
the
it's like
effective ship?
with this Star Fox and all that. 30 years later, and I'm playing some of the same genre of game to this day, because that system, like I always loved those run and gun shooters like Contra and stuff, and then turn around, all this time later, I play Contra Rogue Corps. I look for those genres, the fighting games, there's certain things that I look for, and it's like, man, that's in the Final Fantasy, which really made me go, wow, I love these RPGs are so neat and cool. And I'm like, boom, and I'm still gravitate towards the exact same games that I played 30 years ago. It's that system really was
Super
it.
Mario World was one of my favorite games of all time.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
You know, Link to the Past, that was like where I fell in love with Zelda. Doom, I played it on the computer, but like I played it to death on Super Nintendo.
Yeah, big red cartridge, I remember,
Yeah, half of the arcade games out there, I love them because I played them every day on Super Nintendo, not because I played them in the arcade.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, NBA Jam.
Yeah.
Turtles in Time.
Turtles in Time, yeah.
So many great, like SimCity.
Yeah.
And that's a franchise that really kind of fell off the map. But like we got games like City Skylines now, which is awesome.
Yeah. It's really good. Yeah.
That came from SimCity.
Yeah. All that stuff goes all the way back to there. So it's, and then it gets more, like I said, I say the N64 is such a close second because it was tough, because I was like, man, there was, GoldenEye and Perfect Dark and Body Harvest and all the games that I still play. But no, Super Nintendo really it. I think that for me is my all-time favorite every system ever, because I even had, that was just the different games and the different genres, and the stuff that I still play now is because of that system. And so even though I had a NES and there was a lot of games, but the Super Nintendo really was like, wow, like the wow factor was there besides the arcade stuff and everything else. So yeah, I would have to say the Super Nintendo, definitely all-time favorite, hands down game system I've ever.
Yeah, and a side note, if those retro systems are anybody's favorite or whatever, one of the things I have, because Super Nintendo is my favorite, other than the Super Nintendo Classic system that I got all modded out and all that stuff, I have this Ultimate Nintendo Guide book, and it's fairly expensive, but it's ginormous. It's like almost 500 pages.
Wow.
But it lists like every Super Nintendo game, and then and it doesn't go into like crazy detail about them, but like it shows the cartridge, it has a couple screenshots, and it just talks about it. And
That's cool.
It's a very cool, like you can just flip through there and be like, oh shit, like as familiar as I am with the library of Super Nintendo, there's all kinds of stuff in there that I've never seen before.
Yeah, that's cool. That's very neat.
That you can just go discover and read about, So it's cool. Yeah. It's a cool thing. So
that's awesome. Well,
so you got a question or no?
No, I don't. I think I'll have the question on the next one for you. I mainly wanted to cover the Activision and Blizzard stuff, but yeah, I'll have a question on the next one for sure. And we'll be doing this again, folks. This is basically a new segment on the Gaming Roundtable called Table Talk. This is with me and my good friend John and Tom and John Table Talk, and it's basically he's our administrator of the Unpaid Gamers. Did you ever find out if Ban Loss was still doing anything or not?
I did not, because I'm
Okay.
a loser, but
Well, that's
I really
fine.
don't think so.
Okay, well, guys, I know that I had promoting Banloss's channel for a while. All of his old content, the man, the myth, the Apex Legend, is still up there if he has stopped streaming. You can go back and see his old videos if you just want to get an idea about what the gameplay in Apex Legends seasonal play was like. He was doing all of that. Of course, you can look up Post-Human Guy on Unpaid Gamers on YouTube.com, Twitch as well, Twitch.com. It's Unpaid Gamers. And you can check that out. And you can also check me out here on the Gaming Roundtable. Again, going to try to do some more videos for you all coming up soon on some games we talked about earlier. I got a week of Idea Factory games coming up, and I've got some other ideas and some streaming stuff that we're going to do. And of course, Table Talk here will be a new thing that me and John's going to start doing for you guys, talking for a little while, of course, about the different things that's going on, what we're playing and what we're doing. It's just a little friendly banter back and forth about our opinions and things of all things gaming, because we love this stuff as much as you do, except if you were to, the consensus on YouTube is they hate everything, as John had pointed out, which they kind of do. It seems like nothing is good enough, no matter how much it is. But this has been a great episode. This is January 25th episode of the Gaming Roundtable. And if you would like to, you can email me at unpaid, let's see here, what is it? It's Gaming Roundtable, upg@gmail.com. For any questions or comments, please hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to Unpaid Gamers. Subscribe to the Leisure Plays of Post-Human Guy. And you can again check out his videos. I got Chernobylite coming up. I've got Aliens Fireteam coming up for sure. I know I said that on the last one. It's just I'm getting more rhythm into those games so I can present a good video for you guys. So I'm not just kind of going like, well, I don't know what I'm doing. So we're getting that together for you. The Ideal Factory stuff's coming up soon. I'll be talking about their games because I got them all now, all of them. So we'll do a week worth of that on the select titles there, because there's some really good ones in there. And again, this has been great. The talk, we talked about Activision, gave us our opinions and stuff, and that purchase from Microsoft. John had a great question with you, and if you want to, please put your comments down below. What's your favorite game system of all time, and how do you all feel about the acquisition of Activision Blizzard from Microsoft? And John, again, thank you, man, for being here at Table Talk, and we will definitely see you on the next episode. Yeah, we will see you and all of you here on the next episode of the Gaming Roundtable. And as always, gamers, good gaming.